Ready? Aim!
There's too many!
Anyone see my mammoth?
Stumpy!
Hello and welcome back to another week of Tourney Ground. This week I'm here, as I normally am, and this week I am joined by Sophie. How do you actually
Hi,
pronounce? How do you pronounce your Polish name? Is it Sofia?
Zofia.
Sofia.
So like
Okay,
no accent on DF.
Okay, right, okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm guessing I'm just going to call you Sophie because that is literally your handle. Call me Sophie. Right, that's what I did all weekend. And you didn't ever say don't do that, so I'm going to assume that's right.
No, I actually love it, the way it sounds in English, so yeah, please go on.
Cool. All right then. Yeah, so obviously the LGT just finished up this last week, this weekend even. And going to talk all about the LGT, talk about some of the other stuff that we've seen, and there are some other little things that have kind of come out. I know that some people were talking about it at the tournament in London, but little reveals and other little sneak peeks that kind of leaked out over the weekend as well. We'll go through, and then we'll also talk about Poland and the massive Polish tournament coming up in a few weeks' time. And I know that Sophie's kind of semi-involved with some stuff with that as well, so she'll be able to shed some light on some of the stuff she knows. All right, first of all then, before we dive into the actual tournament itself and all of that, Sophie, how much did you enjoy the UK?
The UK like a country or just a tournament?
Both.
The tournament was great. I'm really glad we went here. You know, it cost us obviously some money because UK is not cheap, but I really enjoyed it. I had a blast and would like to come over also next year. And UK as a whole, yeah, we kept joking about it for the whole stay, but we hated it there. Everything is just, you know, you're so bent on doing everything in reverse, like even putting bus stops the other way around. So like, why? We had some problems with communication, like when you couldn't find the bus stop, and we didn't realize the bus would just stop anywhere. It's, okay, sure. But generally, it was great. I really enjoyed it, and I think the other guys did too. So
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, London is really not a good example of the UK, in my opinion, and that's just my opinion. Other people here might love London, not mine. Not mine. I'm gonna have to apologise again, guys. I've still got this lingering cough still, and on that note, I want to. I'm not going to apologise because I don't think that I gave it to people, but there was definitely illness going around the LGT this year. I was absolutely sick as a pigeon on the Friday night after having nothing to drink whatsoever in terms of alcohol. And then I know that Psycho Steve, Chris, not Chris, Carlo and Dan, at least, among others, were all ill at various different points throughout the weekend as well. So yeah, I have no idea why that is, but it was quite common. I've still got a sore throat, still got this cough. We'll mess through it. All right then. So, travel this year. I know people don't care about our travel antics whatsoever, but travel this year, very simple for us. We got picked up at 6 a.m., just after 6 a.m., at my house by the guys from DMG, who took us down in their minivans, and it was a great time. And I just want to very first of all say, before anything else, thank you very much for Alan for organising it and sorting out the minibuses, and also thinking of us and talking to us about that, and also to Nige who drove the other minibus. But obviously, Alan is better than Nige. I have to point that out. Even though in the tournament Nige beat Alan, which means that Nige is better than Alan for another year. Alan will hate me for saying that, but it's true. Right, cool. Anyway, that was our travel. It was easy. And I stayed in a hotel this year in the Premier Inn, so there was no Premier Inn issues. All right then. So, Sophie, Friday, we turn up and it's for, pardon me, the Invitational. Yep, the Invitational on the Friday. 8 players across 5 different nations. 4 UK, and we have self representing Poland, Jeroen representing the Netherlands, Forrest representing Finland, and of course Rossi representing Germany. How did you find the Invitational and like coming to play? What was in theory coming to play kind of 3 quite hard games?
Well, honestly, I was really excited. It seemed like, even if I do badly, it's a great chance to play against great players and learn something. So, yeah, love that. And the idea itself is also nice. It's also the fact that we played the bracket, not the standard Swiss. It's like a really nice change for a while, because, it works on the small scale of the tournament.
Okay. So, I mean, we come into the event, and I mean, straight away when I saw the bracket, I was like, Jesus, it's gonna be horrible. Mostly because where I was positioned, I was the highest rated player coming into the event, so I was in the first place position. And I'm not joking, my route to the final was playing against Rossi's Lannisters, and then depending on who won between Sophie and Dan, I was very honest and said I thought Sophie would beat Dan. And therefore, I was like, I'm going to have to play against Sophie's Lannisters. I looked over to the other side of the bracket, and I wasn't 100% sure who'd win it. I thought Keijo with his Lannisters probably would do quite well. Or I was thinking Marky, if he was running Night's Watch. He ended up not running Night's Watch and run Starks, and he had an absolutely terrible time over on that side of the bracket. And I was thinking, I might genuinely have to play 3 Lannisters in a row here on a Friday afternoon. That sounds horrible. And I didn't have to play 3 Lannisters in a row, because in my second game, Sophie absolutely stomped me. And we spoke about it after the game. Well, it is recorded. Something I'll note about this is that there are a selection of games recorded from the weekend. On the Friday, pardon me. On the Friday, the first 2 rounds, it was just like a random table from the first 2 rounds. And then on the third round, it was the final of the Invitational. And then on the Saturday, the recorded games was just a random selection of tables, ideally with painted miniatures on them. And then on the Sunday, it was the top table that was streamed all day, or recorded all day. So, Sophie, how did your first game go?
Honestly,
against Dan.
Yeah, it went quite well, but like I think, the one big thing that happened around 1 is like the board was almost fully claimed, and Dan puts rising temperature on one of my units when the only swords were free, and I had last NCU, and like, why'd you put that, especially on crossbows? Like, I'll just remove it, and I did it, and like, I think for the rest of the game, I had like, why would you, like, I was confused about this, and it's like kind of changed, my perspective about what to expect. Like, obviously, that Dan played really well, but like, no, it's not something you would expect to see, because maybe it's stress thing, but
First game.
yeah, yeah. Well, I generally felt pretty well playing into his Martels, but like, well, I feel it's good pairing for Kevin list, but it could have went way better. Like, my bronze survived on 2 wounds and then had to run away for some time, and if he died, then it would be really bad for me.
Okay. So yeah, running the Kevin list there, and yeah, pulling through, quite a healthy win in the end. But yeah, so I mean, game 1, good start to the weekend, and then you play game 2, and Free Folk versus Lannister, and there will be some videos coming out that will have us talking about list selection and things like that. We spoke about our game at the time after the game, and it really wasn't a game, in my opinion. you picked your Gregor list, and I picked Varamir. And if people don't know, Varamir does not like Gregor at all, because everything dies in basically one attack, and everything then gets overrun into, and everything is very sad. And you also have Tywin in your Gregor list, which makes it incredibly sad. What was it, like 6-1 in 3 rounds? Not even that.
Honestly, I don't remember. I was just focused on killing stuff.
Yeah, it was 6-1, and I think you'd killed everything but Faramir and Mag. And they both activated, and you still hadn't activated anything left on round 3. It was just an absolute slaughter. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even think about killing them. I was like, okay, just focus on not losing at this moment. Like when you said the game is done, I'm like, nah, I'm not falling for that. I need to be sure that I pull this through.
No.
Not have like some stupid mistake to cost me that.
The game was incredibly done by that point. The problem being is that actually you could have potentially Mag kills another unit or 2. Ironically, it doesn't matter because I can't actually outscore you, and eventually you'll just run away. The cavalry don't ever have to go anywhere near Mag. It was definitely a non-game. You'll see it recorded, guys, and it is definitely worth watching. It's a lesson in picking the right list.
Sorry, Ilya says this old Mickey trick, and it's pretty funny when we talk about our second game, and you're, why would I have final starting in hand, and you freaking play it, and kind of cost me game. Well, it was my mistake that I was there in first place, but I'm starting to see how your tricks work.
No, yeah, this is definitely a game over moment. So yeah, we spoke about it before. It was very much. Or in my opinion, it's very much of a list chicken in that, we do have different opinions on it. But the 2 lists you run, I have a preference into which one I want to run each of mine into. And if you pick one of your lists and I pick the other one, it's like an okay matchup for me. And if you pick your Gregor and I pick the Varamir, it's like a brilliant matchup for you. And it's like, yeah, it's always this kind of question of and I think this is kind of one of the big things that we've talked a lot about over the weekend, in that there isn't really standout factions outside of Night's Watch, really. It's so much as it's standout list builds. And list builds can counter other list builds. And we'll talk about, I guess, a bit about that later on. But yeah. So then you end up going into the final against Isaac. And how did that go?
Well, it went as I expected, quite bad. Yeah, we played that matchup like a few days before that, and the second time when we played on Invitation, I was like, yeah. After that game, I knew that my Kevin is gonna struggle really hard into Kevin build like his, so especially double crossbows with Tywin, and that was kind of the big lesson for me from that. Like, if I want to play my Lannister mirrors, I would need to change something about my list, because I don't see it going well for me if the opponent plays well. And Keijo played it absolutely well. I also did some mistakes. That's one thing I'm gonna say. I picked up the Lannisters a month ago, just to play them for this event, and the Tywin attachment, Tyrion attachment, makes it so hard to play that list correctly, because there is always that one additional choice of ditching your 2 cards and getting another one. And I don't think it's a good matchup for me in general. But if I had counterbolt in the right moment, which I could have, but didn't make a decision to go actually for that card, then it might have been, I might have some more chance. Yeah, and Keijo absolutely crushed me. He's a good Lannister player. He knew how to pilot that list, and he knew what to do against me. So I lost, as expected.
Yeah. Again, I know that Keijo, Isaac's really enjoying the Lannister mirror specifically at the moment, and it's actually one of the few things. So when Keijo first started a few months back, about 6 months ago, give or take, maybe a bit longer. It'd be back in the last year, I think it was. I remember speaking to him and basically talking to him about mirrors, and for me, one of my favorite matchups is still the Free Folk mirror. I absolutely love mirror matches, especially with Free Folk. I absolutely adore it. And for me, I always said to Keijo that I think when you get really comfortable with a faction, when you really like a faction, like truly, I think that the mirror becomes one of your favorite matchups in that, like, you know everything that you do, and you know everything your opponent does, and it's a real chance to just really make your understanding of the mirror so much kind of like more pronounced of the faction. And that's kind of true of like nearly all of the kind of times we've seen it happen. Like you say there, picked up Lannisters quite recently, and you come into the mirror and it's like you just know straight away that Keijo's a very good player and he understands the mirror way better. And it makes a big difference, right? It makes a big difference. And it puts you at a disadvantage. Not something that a good player can't recover from, of course, but it puts you at a disadvantage almost out of the gate that's hard to come back from. Did you actually play many mirrors during the main event as well?
No, I think I got only one. It was against Brickfish, and it was a pretty tough matchup. And yeah, he also had. I think it was the same list as Keijo. So
I know his 8 because I played against Brickfish as well. In his 8, he played the Turncoat.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I forgot about Ross. I also play against Ross Lannister. Yeah. Sorry, Ross, for that. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, the Invitational, well done to Keijo. I know that he was asking, "Oh, what's your plan for tonight?" And he was angling to ask if I wanted to have him on the show, and the answer was actually going to be yes. But then I also didn't and forgot. So yeah, he'll be on next week likely, and he can give us more insight. Plus, I need to spread out guests. Don't do this every week for fun, I do it every week for fun. All right. So yes, that was the Invitational. Well worth it. Well worth turning up. Would you do the Invitational again? There's a question, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was great.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I was kind of lucky that I could get here because I wasn't planning on showing up on Friday, and then we had already booked our flight. And when Carol messaged me, I had to check if I can make it, and I barely could make it. I had to take Uber from airport, but I was able to.
Oh yeah, because you turned up like technically. I say technically. It was about 5-10 minutes late, wasn't it, after the start time? But everyone was like, you all knew you were on the way. It wasn't like, oh my god, resign game 1 because you turned up late or anything like that. It was just a case of just understanding that and putting a hold on for 5-10 minutes. But yeah, cool, great. Now that moves us on to the main event. Saturday morning, turning up. How did you find the main event as a whole? Are there any particular games you want to talk about? I know there are on the Sunday, but think Saturday. Think main event Saturday. You start the weekend with a game against Ross, someone you've played online a few times, right?
Yeah. But let's just stop here for a moment. My first game is against Ross, so it's like the player I played a lot of games on TTS. I think I haven't played that many games on TS with anyone else that was on an event, and my two buddies that came here with me got paired against each other. So it's the most optimal way to pair us against the people we played against. It's incredible.
It doesn't get much more unlucky than that, really, does it?
Yeah, and it's like. I wouldn't believe that it was in any way intentional because they obviously couldn't do all panics manually, but it was quite weird. But luckily after that I didn't got paired with any of my buddies, so there is that. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question once again?
That's all right, don't worry. You played into Ross first thing, and yeah, how was that? I mean, obviously you don't have to talk us through every game. But how did you find kind of like the Saturday games in general?
well, I think, well, obviously they went quite well. No, I was really happy with myself. This kind of what I want to do on that day, and it showed how Gregor also can do his own things. Obviously, Cavan Mirror was really fun because I should probably stop looking at the stream because then I see you moving from 30 seconds ago. Yeah, the Cavan Mirror. Yeah, I'm so distracted.
It's alright, don't worry.
Yeah, fine.
Did you enjoy the Saturday games? Is there any game on Saturday that you
Yes.
thought? I mean, you actually played against Nige on game 2, and I should
Yeah.
say this because I know that he listens to the. Was Nige absolutely the worst opponent you've ever played? Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I refuse to answer the question. No, he's far from worse. But it was really fun to be able to rush down Khal Drogo with Gregor, like infanteries against cavalries, and I'm the one aggressive here.
Yeah.
So
that is
it's quite satisfying. And this one fun thing about Gregor is just you can do this to someone that's not expecting this. And this was part of the game against Knights. I had to explain whole Lannister thing. It's like the Lannisters are panic faction. Like, not at all. Not with Gregor.
Not with Gregor. They're a killy.
I'll just smash you. Yeah. It's really easy to catch someone off guard. Like if someone doesn't know what to expect, like against overruns, assault orders that I will always have on hand. Then it's I can really punish someone, and it's kind of how it went. Just Sandor March, Sandor assault orders, and kill 2 units.
Now,
Maybe about my 4th game against Greyjoys in the Fire and Blood.
Right. Against Emil, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a really great game, but I was really stressed because this game I managed to finish in round 2.
Was it 4 minutes that it took?
I think it was 4 minutes from his clock. It obviously took some more time because we go one by one. It's like I think it was maybe 15 from me, but it was a really quick game. It's like first activation round 2, I just kill 2nd unit. I'm at 10, and it's only my Gregor that's exposed. I think I might have as well just pull back with everything else, and that's still it from me. It's not something you can recover easily if the game haven't really developed.
I didn't see this obviously happen, but I was playing my 4th game against. I was actually playing Brickfish at the time. I was playing against James when you were playing that game, and I remember you kind of walking round after your game, and it must have only been about 20 minutes into the round or something, and you were walking around looking at other people's games, and I was like, what on earth has gone on here? And I just left it. I didn't think much of it, obviously, at the time. Then after our game finished, you'd mentioned about what happened, and it was like, oh god. And it sounded like Emil just had a really bad time. Like, he lost 2 units like straight away. Round 1, round 2, dead. 10 points. I'm off. See you later.
Yeah, I felt really bad out, but because it's he seems like a great person and would love to hang out, play more, but it was just a good game, so we cannot do this. We can talk, but yeah.
Isaac saying round 2.
Yeah, he told me his story about round 1, 10 points in Fire and Blood.
It's,
so yeah.
I think it was. I actually really like about this. Dan straight away said to us when you told the story, and Dan heard it. Dan just said, "Why do people deploy at the 18-inch line? Don't deploy at the 18-inch line on Fire and Blood. It's a big mistake." And he's right. Like deploying at 18 inches in, especially if your opponent's playing a very aggressive list, do not do that. Do not do that. That is a good way to lose.
Yeah, worst mistake of my life.
Yeah.
And I had it happen to me also. Like when I was practicing in our last locker tournament, and against Gregor, I got the exact same treatment. Even if you played safe, still. Double march is really long distance.
It is a very long way. All right then. So, day 1 done and dusted for yourself. I mean, I I played into Dean in the morning, which I was really glad about. I've known Dean now for three years, and this was the first time I'd actually played Dean in a competitive event, which was nice with his Baratheons. I then played Mark, Night's Watch into Free Folk, and Winds of Winter, and that went well for Mark. It went poorly for myself. I didn't play it especially well. I made a couple of mismeasurements in the kind of like round 2 period, where Mark was able to go 3-1 up on me in terms of victory points because he was able to get into my deployment and I couldn't get into his, which was a big kind of mistake there. And then the kind of game just snowballed into John killing things. I didn't have any of the tools to really keep myself in the game. No endless swords and only one final strike, which I had to use on cold hands. So pretty big rips.
And
yeah.
Just to point out, I remembered like when we talked before this game, and you seemed really optimistic about it. And I was really surprised to see how you do this.
No, I mean,
then you didn't.
The thing is, like, I do believe that my list is a effective way of beating John. From like, this is the most effective thing I have. I don't think it gets much better. There might be some changes I would make to the list if I wanted to make it even better, but like, I don't think the list gets much better at beating John. The problem is that John, and we spoke about it before, Sophie, the John 8 list, in isolation, not considering metas and things like that, and not scenario, and not necessarily counter builds, and all these kinds of things, the steer list is probably the best shot into John, and the John list is probably the best list in the game. And it's like, you know, completely isolated, nothing in it. So then it comes down to how it's piloted. And as Mark says in chat, Mark's a good pilot of Night's Watch. He does know how to play Night's Watch. He's had enough practice. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. I also really feared Mark. So luckily I didn't come across him. But this also was a reason why I was surprised with you, not being moved at all by this.
Well, the actual thing is, I'm optimistic because actually that comes back down to mindset, right? In that I was not well on Friday night to the point where, I mean, I'm not joking here. I actually nearly sent a message to Paul Winter saying, "Look, mate, I'm not going to be there in the morning. I need to stay in bed." And I turned up to the event, and I genuinely nearly didn't play, because that's how bad I felt. And actually, I was clearing up by this point. I was actually on the recovery, but it felt terrible. And I turned up on Saturday, and I'd already resigned myself to, I'm probably not going to do very well. I'll just enjoy my time. And the thing is, like, I was optimistic about this game into Mark because I knew that the game could go either way, and like I don't mind playing against Mark over the table. Playing against Mark over the table is kind of fun, and I've got no problems with it. So I knew it was going to be an enjoyable game, not a game I had to stress about or anything like that. So yeah, and yeah, well, that's the thing, Ross. I said I was okay at the dinner, and I really was. It was after the dinner. I woke up at like the middle of the night, and I won't go into the detail, but I spent about 2 to 3 hours over a toilet, which was not pleasant. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a good game against Mark. And then, so bearing in mind, I'm going into this, right, this is my second game. I played Dean round 1, who, if people remember, came 3rd in the LGT many moons ago. Dean has since dropped off a little bit. He doesn't play as much as he used to. But someone I have a lot of respect for as a decent player. Played Mark round 2. Fair enough. Someone who's in the Invitational, someone I, again, have a lot of respect for as a good player. And then all of a sudden, I look at my round 3 matchup, and I'm playing against Isaac. And I'm like, what? Is so he picked up a loss as well. And we talk about the list chicken, right? We talk about the list chicken, Sophie. And I picked Varamir, and unfortunately for Isaac, he has double Kevin. Varamir into Kevin is a complete opposite of the Varamir into Gregor list matchup, where he killed the wolf pack, and we agreed that we didn't actually end up playing the last few rounds out because there was no point. We agreed that I basically tabled him, and Gregor just ran to the corner of the field. That was the game, and it took 3 rounds. Basically, it was game over. And yeah, it was almost a complete reverse of what happened in our game on this Friday. And it just shows you how swingy these matchups are, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, but just to add to that, I think Keijo also wasn't happy to meet you against losing.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, and there is one thing from before Invitational, before our game. Like I think we had a talk with Dan, and he like asked me why would I pick Gregor? It's just Kevin is so much better, and you were there and you agreed with him. And like I'm not fucking getting into that mind games. I would pick fucking Gregor into you because you know.
The funny thing is that I do believe that Kevin is a better commander. But I think it comes down to the tools. If you can stop Gregor with the right tools, I think there are probably counter lists to the Gregor list. The question is that did you bring them or not? And having seen you play the Gregor list more, because it's not the Gregor lists that I typically see played. And having seen you play it, I do think that it has better credence than perhaps the way I've seen it played previously. So I was perhaps underestimating the quality of the list. So I do think I do think the list, or certainly I do think the game plan and list is better. But actually, your list is different to a lot of other people's that I see because you run the Gregor with Tywin, and actually it's the combination of both of those things mixed in. The turncoat matters a little bit, but not really. Like the turncoat, you have a turncoat, don't you?
No, I don't.
You don't. Why am I thinking turncoat? What was the thing?
Keijo had turncoat on this side.
Keijo's a
He's still
turncoat. You don't have the turncoat. You have the two infantry units. The brigands I was probably overly scared of, perhaps. But the brigands are fine. And the thing is that you just shove it down people's throat. And if you don't have the tools to stop you shoving it down people's throat, it's hard to beat. Or you have to punish you doing it, which we'll get on to later.
Yeah, and that is also just the case of me having this leads us into the whole list chicken.
Which is a massive list chicken because the two lists are completely different in the way that they work and function, how they're going to achieve their victory point. So yeah, I played against Isaac, and then I came off the game against Isaac, and I played into Brickfish, and Brickfish was running exactly, basically the same lists as Keijo, and I just played Hone and Ready with Varamir into Keijo's lists, and I looked at Bricks and went, oh, I kind of went, oh god, I'm sorry, James, this is going to go really badly for you, and I picked the Varamir list into Fire and Blood, and the first activation of round 2, his Knights of Cassie Rock are dead. 2 rounds later, his one activation later, the Mountain is dead. His poor fellows die later in the round. He's got 2 units left. He's killed a wolf pack, and then I'm hunting down Kevin, and I go and kill a unit of halberdiers, and the game ends before I can kill Kevin. Yeah, again. Exactly the same result. I nearly tabled the person I was playing against, and they only killed the wolf pack. The matchup is very, very, very one-sided, in my opinion, with this list into Kevin. Which is funny, because Invitational, we kind of saw it. The Gregor list that you run, Sophie, is completely one-sided into the Varamir. Like, it's Marmite and cheese, right? You smash this, this smashes that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it felt that way for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my day 1. And then great day, great evening on the Saturday. We chilled. I played some Evian and we ordered Wagamamas. That was great. Yeah, and Brickfish did have a tough day 1. Playing into both me and Sophie on day 1 was pretty sad. Back to back as well. But it's a good experience, right? So.
Yeah, you learn most from your losses.
Okay.
Or so I heard.
So we come out of day 1, and I'm on 1 loss, and you're on no losses. And I think what's super interesting is, I've at this point in the weekend, Invitational played 2 Lannisters, and by the end of day 2 on Saturday, I played 2 more. I played 7 games so far, and 4 of them have been against Lannisters, which is kind of insane. We'll look at the faction splits and everything in a second. Day 2 starts though, and we're in round 5, and it's the best matchup, arguably, of the weekend. The most kind of anticipated one, I think, that most people wanted to see, which was you versus Carlo.
Yeah, that's the one.
Dance with Dragons. It's recorded. This game is recorded and will be going up on the Rotterdam White Scars YouTube channel. There's about 20 hours of footage which Tice is going to go through, edit, make sure it's all nice and clean and everything like that, and put all these games up on the Rotterdam White Scars YouTube channel. So do check that out. That was what, a 4. There were other things as well, but basically could be summed up as basically a 4-up charge.
Yes, the one important side. Obviously, after the emotion settled, I started to see things I could have done better. So it's not like I played it perfectly and it was just this one charge. But to be honest, if Carlo had some worse rolls on me, or I had some better, then it might have been a way different game. The outcome might have been different. And the one big thing, because it was obviously at the end, was the 4-up charge from Sandorin to Ghost, which if I did this would have granted me that 1 point that I was then missing. Yeah.
And it really was. I mean, I remember looking at the game and I spoke to Tice, and it just so happened my round 5 game had finished, and you were still playing. And I remember coming over to Tice and I basically said, oh, what's the score and things like that. And it was that decision of the 4+ charge, and I didn't see the rest in context, and I'd already counted up the points and everything like that. And I looked at it and went, if she makes this, I mean, she almost certainly kills Ghost. Like, almost certainly.
You could say the same about Scorpion, but
well, yeah,
I didn't do this. Yeah. So, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean that's a different story, isn't it? But you almost certainly kill Ghost, and if you kill Ghost, you go, you leverage, you get the point back, and then there's 2 more points, and then da. And I just worked out, and I think basically I was like, if she kills Ghost here, she wins by 1 victory point. If she doesn't kill Ghost here, I think she loses by 1. And that was it. Like, I mean, that wasn't the whole game. There was more to it, as we say, but I remember that key decision moment, and then I went and did some other stuff while your game was playing out. But yeah. No, that was a good game. I recommend anyone to watch this back. There's probably some points to learn from for both players, and for all players watching it to learn from other people playing well, which is what I would say. You've played Carlo in person now, Sophie. Did you enjoy the game? I know it was a loss. Did you enjoy the game? And if you didn't enjoy the game, is it because Carlo's a dickhead? And the answer is yes. We already know that. Yeah, go on. But no. Do you think, we talk about Carlo being very good, and he always comes across as being very good. Do you think that was worth? Do you think that game was worth it, and you saw kind of like the ability of your opponent come through?
Yes, that was a great game, and honestly, this also kind of what we talked about before the stream. Like, when I was preparing for this event, I disregarded John as commander, a lot. I didn't really consider him to be good, and seeing Carol play it, especially because I don't think that Carol could win one-on-one with McGregor list. But seeing how he, utilized scenario to him, and just, he didn't fight me face on, but did what he's best at. So use his mobility to his advantage. Really showed how good of a player he is. Like I was impressed by how well he played that, and it was also the first time I saw Carol play at all. I don't think I ever saw him before that. So yeah, it was quite an experience. I had to, use some time at the start because I was not used to the way he is, like in real life. Like, he had some, specific presence. Like, I had to get used, what's cool, what kind of dogs can fly here. But once, we kind of got to know each other, let's say. Yeah, I would call him a dickhead. You did. We all call him a dickhead. He isn't actually a dickhead. That's the thing.
we all say is, he's better than us. And so if he's better than us, we have to make him sound worse, right? He's better than us, so he's a bad person. I told you this, Sophie, at the weekend. If you lose a game, it's because the other person cheats, right? That's how it works. No, I joke.
It was because I was unlucky.
Yes, dice weren't in my favour. I was unlucky.
That one for absurd. It will haunt me for months.
All right, so you had a relatively easy game one then of the Sunday against Carlo.
Relatively easy, yeah.
Not easy. And it was one victory point in it by the end, which is insanely close. Which puts you at one loss, and it ends up being me versus you.
Yeah.
A bit of a rematch.
And, I'll just, take a moment here to pause and maybe talk about this, because as I have said at least before the stream, I have picked up the Glanister like a month ago, and it was only for this event. And even the fact that I was able to win my first 4 games and come this close to beating Carlo, like to be able to win with him on the roll of 4+, I'm pretty proud of how far I came with this. Oh. And it's like, yeah, he's a great player, and I was able to go toe-to-toe against him. And also here, I would like to mention, it's really thanks to all the people that played with me, and specifically I think Podvis, because he just bugged me for the whole month to play with him. And obviously I wanted to do is to practice, but the 50 some games on TTS we played, and I know I wouldn't be able to do as well without this help. So yeah.
Podvis is a very good player. For those who don't know, Podvis is one of the players that we've had from Poland who's been in a couple of the online tournaments, and is very, very strong player. Played a mixture of Lannister and Free Folk over his time. He's played loads of other stuff.
He also won our last nationals, so yeah.
Podvis is a great guy and a very good player. But yeah, good training partner to have, definitely. All right then. So going into our game, Feast for Crows.
That's one scenario.
Yeah, that one scenario. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty happy because I still think that Free Folk have a good chance in Feast for Crows. And let's put it like this: it may have been a bit more list chicken, but I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to be picking Varamir again because that did not go well. So yeah, I end up picking Steer, and you end up going again with your Gregor. Did you think I was going to go Varamir?
I wasn't counting on that, but I know, I thought there might be some chance of me doing this. I didn't get to see, what your kind of reactions, but I thought there is a possibility of you, just starting to get some doubts and then thinking I might go Kevin. Because how would you? Just double. I forgot what's called.
Double bluff.
Like that double bluff, yeah. So yeah, but I wasn't counting on that, and honestly, I was kind of glad that we get to see, in life how that matchup goes. Mm-hmm. Well, but I shouldn't have been.
It's Feast for Crows, and you mentioned it before. I mean, there was a key moment on round 2. So we end up playing it out, and round 2, you charge a bunch of trappers, right?
Yeah, basically Gregor and Sandor started making shadows.
Yeah, so you slammed in with the 2 infantry. Actually, no, Gregor didn't charge, right? You just marched up in the end. Because the movement was too far. And then you start slamming in and doing tons of damage, and in theory starting to push through. You fail the first charge, I think, right? On like a 5 or 4 up, and then you end up obviously you're right point blank range, and you make the second one into the trappers, and you kill. I think you roll pretty poorly because over a bog, and you end up killing like 6 guys.
With a Sandor, right?
It was Sandor, yeah. And I just remember you saying final strike, and I was like, nope. No, I do have an after diversion tactics, like move the chariot over here or something like that. And then I moved my raiders up, and your brigands came in, and your brigands did a stupid amount of damage. Was it 11 hits or something?
Yeah, that was a lot.
I nearly killed Barot's
I
raiders.
think it was before that I used Tywin.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, you used Tywin and you knocked off a few, hadn't you? Yeah. And then I played Final Strike.
So, you are missing one crucial part here.
Go on.
After I asked you about Final Strike, you said, "No, why do you assume I would have that?"
I did say that. Why would you assume I had that?
And why would I fall into that? I don't know. Looking back into this, it was so stupid. Like, well, maybe let's also disregard this. Now, even if you didn't have Final Strike, I don't think that charge into Riders was a good idea, like at all.
Well, to be fair, you did nearly kill them.
But I don't think it matters in the way Fist for Crows is played out, because this just gives you another point.
Yeah, which is what we spoke about, isn't it? And the way you play the game, and not just you, but like the way the game has to be played, and kind of like the game plan from the off has to be a bit different. And not because you did anything wrong with the game plan, but it ended up giving me an advantage that I could take it. I could take that advantage and pressure the game state to end before you could kill me, basically. Because of the corpse files. The corpse files giving extra VPs means the game is then faster. And that means that the aggressive units, such as the Gregors and the Sandors, have to kill faster in order to keep up with the points. At least in theory. But yeah, so this Brigand charge nearly kills me. You eat a Final Strike, and you're on like 4 wounds left or something. And the chariot, even with his ability turned off, charges you in the flank and gets the kill. And that isn't game by any stretch. There's still a game in there, but it's in a very bad spot for you at that point.
Yeah.
And then I don't think... So, I barely attacked you anymore the rest of the game, right? It was nearly all retreating until you charged Gregor in, and then I hit you in the flank. I may have attacked you once with Steer, maybe, I can't remember. And the Iron Resolve Raiders over there were smashing away at Tyrion doing nothing, so...
Yeah, it might be right. I don't think you might any more attacks, like meaningful attacks.
The chariot literally did nothing. It just sat on a corpse pile and scored like 3 or 4
absolutely.
points. So, yeah. So it was good revenge for me. 10-7 in the end. And we spoke about it at the time. The matchup being very, very different to what happened with the Varamir list. It's not just a complete walkover for you. I still think there's a chance that my list is probably the best option I have into you. You still think that Gregor beats the list. I don't necessarily disagree. I think Feast for Crows does help me massively.
Yeah, that one for sure.
Yeah. But it was a good game, nonetheless. A very good game. And puts you in up against a Greyjoy to finish off the weekend. Your first Greyjoy.
No. Second. I mean also played
Greyjoy. Oh, you played Theon, of course. You played him.
Yeah.
I do apologise.
Yeah, but like regarding our second game, it's like when the emotions has fallen off, I started to see that there is more to this matchup than I thought, and like I for sure see that I should have made some other decisions, like not like the charging with Birgans, like deployment should have been different, and the whole game should have been different, and I still see that it's a really tough scenario for me.
Mm-hmm.
So like there is there is that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was some other thought in my head, but now it's gone. Well, maybe I'll catch it later.
Yeah, that was that. So that put me.
Yeah, no, sorry. And this kind of also shows that lack of. I feel a lot of my mistakes here came just from a lack of experience on how to play against that kind of style. And I think it's the first time in a long time I've seen free play like this. like in defensive, just outscore your opponent, don't get killed style way. And it's like you played it really well, so that was yeah. There is also that, but I for sure would have need more experience to be doing here, like even disregarding scenario, because it's hard to play against at least, especially when it's played well.
Yeah, I mean, we go back to a question that was actually asked way earlier. But I ran the same list for the Invitational and the same list for the event, and they're actually the same lists that I basically ran in the US. And the reason for that is I really actually enjoy playing the Steer list. The Steer list is genuinely one of my favorite lists to play. I've always loved playing that list and that style. Even if it's not particularly good, I still enjoy it. Because I enjoy just presenting my opponent with problems that they have to solve. Even though I'm not gonna do much damage necessarily, I just like to go, here we go, solve this problem, and see what they do. And being very reactive to that and trying to kind of counter move and play a very movement heavy game. It's not a dynamic, proactive list in that sense. And I just enjoy those kind of very reactive kind of bait and switch style lists. And yeah, Ilya, I enjoy being a bad person. Right. But yeah, it's genuinely one of my favorite lists to play in the game, and I think it's good. So why would I change it? The Varamir list is very much a counter list. For me, it's a counter Kevin list, and I think I was able to prove throughout the weekend that it does counter Kevin very effectively. And a lot of it comes down to terrain picks as well. Like, I win the terrain roll against Cage or Honed and Ready. I placed a forest in the middle of the board, and that's basically the game over. Because I can just hide mag and an animal in those forests, and he can't ever get within 6 or 7 inches of it. Otherwise, I come and kill him. And it's a bad day to be a Lannister player if there's a forest in the middle with a mag in it.
Yeah. Unless you have Gregor.
Unless you have Gregor, exactly. Unless you have Gregor. Not the mountain that rides. That's not the answer either. He dies.
There is like when you talk about this, there is also a part about because I used to play Free Folk a lot, like especially in Man's era, and after that in season 2 I didn't really enjoy it as much because I couldn't really get a grasp on this your playstyle that you presented with your style list, and also with me not playing this, I wasn't really aware how to counter this because there are not a lot of Free Folk players. Lannisters, on every corner. Free Folk, no one likes them.
Yeah, no one likes Free Folk except when they're really strong.
Well, but you got you give that the man's playstyle was way different from now.
Yeah, it was.
Now you cannot play the same way now that you used to back then.
No, although actually I will say I think a lot of the principles are similar. It's still a very similar style, but you have to do it differently. But yeah, it is. There's lessons to be learned from the new way, and some of the old things come across. But yeah, I love Free Folk. I've said that so many times. I've loved Free Folk. You didn't change your list between the Invitational and the main event. Is that just because you again thought your 2 lists were very good?
Sorry, can you repeat the second part of the question?
Didn't change your lists between the Invitational and the main event. Is that just because you thought your 2 lists were the best 2 lists you could bring?
Yeah, I kind of thought that if I'm going to try my best on the big tournament, I should also practice those 2 lists on the Invitational. And also part of that is that I'm coming by plane. I cannot really bring much more models, and I cannot really easily switch them. So yeah, I kind of treated Invitational like just a warm up or practice before the main event. So like obviously I wanted to do the best, but I'm not gonna be changing list of factions because if I want to get the best results, it's the way to go, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. I have to admit, like we talk about matchups and stuff. Like for me, I already had an anti-Night's Watch list, which is Steer. Even though I don't think it's amazingly anti-Night's Watch, it's an option. And I already had a anti-Lannister list in the Varamir, in a kind of anti-Kevin, and I just go, cool, I'll run those 2 lists. Those are the 2 factions I worry about. Steer can deal with everything that's not Kevin, pretty much. Like Martel's, yeah, run steer, whatever. I don't really care. There aren't that many archetypes steer can't handle, in my opinion. Not the way that I like to run the list. And then Varamis deals with the tech pieces that I need to deal with. In hindsight, maybe I need to think about maybe a Cotter/Gregor list a bit more. I'm not really sure what I would do, what my options would be, and how I'd change my list. But that's like a thought for future. As the meta kind of evolves or as the season 3 continues. Cool. So yeah,
I would add to that when we are practicing, like that was one of our main concerns. Like I assume there would be a lot of Gregors and Cotters because how the way we played it and the way we saw, oh, it's good, and played some more times and it's really fine and it seemed really hard to find a really bad matchup. You kind of wanted to be ready for that, so we assumed other people would get to some conclusions, but it wasn't really that. Oh, also, I can add to when we talk about the game with Carlo. Playing John definitely benefited him because I was way more prepared against Cotter. Like, I know what Cotter could do because I used to practice at least. Maybe not that exactly, but Cotter in general.
Yeah.
So and I think Gregor into Cotter is also a good matchup for me.
Yeah, you basically smash each other apart, right? And
yeah.
And one of you probably does it better and faster because you have 2 units that smash and you one. But yeah.
Yeah, and Cotter has a problem. If Golden Combat and Swordsman in general have a problem. If you tie with them before they turn on order, they are just a unit. They just die, and you cannot attach cards to them.
No.
Poor little Night Tools.
Which makes a big difference in that matchup, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we end up going into we come out of round 6, and you're now on 2 losses, hoping to get obviously your seventh game to be a win, which you do against Aaron, against his Greyjoys, which I'm assuming was a good game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing against him, and I gotta say I loved his paint scheme.
Yeah,
it's like the one thing I really like when going to other places and playing against other people is like seeing different people come up with different ideas for their armies, like paint schemes in general, because it's kind of tough with some armies. Like you cannot really do alternative free folk. They will still be just guys in the clothes. You cannot do. It's hard to do alternative Targaryens. You can just change their cloth color, but they are still same models. But like with Greyjoy and his Templar style, painting, it was I love that.
Is that the like the Assassin's Creed one, isn't it? Type.
Yes,
well.
yes.
Yeah, it is good. I remember commenting on it actually. Playing on the table next to me, I did say to him, "Oh, mate, Aaron, those look great." Yeah, no, that's real cool. And you end up obviously placing 4th overall, top of the kind of two losses bracket. I was very lucky in my Sunday, so I played Nas. I literally had a weekend or a Sunday of 2 more Lannisters, God forbid. But more importantly, I had actually all 3 of my games on Sunday were from international travellers. So I got to play Martin, Nas. He's Reek rhymes with leak on the main Discord. For those of you who are Discord guys, but Martin's lovely. Martin's genuinely lovely guy from Denmark. So I played him in dance first of all. Played against Sophie second round, and then in my last game played against Forrest. Johannes has just commented there. I'm about to doze off, but I'll listen till then. And my game against Johannes, I mean, Forrest is great. I played Forrest plenty of times on TTS and spoken to him lots on TTS. And Johannes is genuinely a great guy. And we had an absolutely fantastic last game where it was looking like I was going to win. And Johannes just went absolutely balls to the wall and just decided, all right, I'm going to try and claw this back. And it didn't go well for him, unfortunately. I kept on passing a panic test on a unit of trappers, which was quite funny. Like literally, I was on like 2 wounds. And yeah, we had a great game, and then had a beer afterwards, which was great as well. But yeah, really enjoyed all 3 of my games on Sunday, and to have all 3 of them against international travellers as well is very. And it is interesting because you see, Sophie. I'm gonna butcher this. You told me this yesterday how to pronounce this, and I'm gonna butcher it again.
Go on.
Makiej?
No.
No.
You wanna try again, or
No, I
do you
won't
need
try
help?
again.
Maciej.
Maciej, that's it. Maciej, Sophie, Martin, Johannes, Yannick, who I didn't get the chance to play against, all in the top 10 as international travellers as well, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Yeah, it's really refreshing as well to play against different players that we don't see on the kind of UK circuit as well. And I'm obviously aware of all of these players internationally. But it's very different playing someone on TTS versus then getting to actually meet them and playing them face to face. And just spending it's not actually the playing of the game, is it? It's the between rounds catching up and the chatting and things like that, and that side of the game which you miss when playing on TTS. Which I think is enjoyable. I genuinely enjoy. So yeah.
Yeah, I got to say it was really fun and nice to be able to catch you guys in the break and have a quickly talk. Not even related to the game necessarily, but in general.
Yeah.
Love that.
So yeah, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed the weekend. So we'll go through. Pardon me. We'll go through the kind of few things to mention in a minute regarding who got what and prize support and stuff like that, which we'll talk about. But the first thing I actually wanted to talk to you about was the somewhat controversial, not really controversial massively, but I know there was some worry about it, inclusion of clocks for the top tables. How did you feel about that, Sophie? Do you think it was important, or do you think that it didn't really matter, or do you think it mattered because people reacted differently? I don't know. What was your opinion on using the clocks in the event?
Okay, so in general, I think the only game when I kind of thought clocks might matter was the second game against you, because I think that's what I felt in the beginning. We often, well, obviously I took some breaks, but I feel like later than that, you kind of forgot to switch the clock, or me,
yeah.
And we used some of more of my time. And I was like, okay, it might have come to that I have to fast play to not lose the time, but you have plenty of time. So I was kind of worried, because in that situation, obviously, it's more comfortable to me to if I can just chill. But if you say that it's a deathlock, then I gotta hurry. So it's like, I think I asked you specifically, do you care about this? Because if you do, then I have to do it also. But like I think we can generally finish the game in time if we assume that I can share some of your time. And in every other game, I was like, no, we are finishing this game in time.
Yeah.
The clock won't be needed.
And even then, I remember in our game, you asked me, and I was like, I was absolutely fine. Doesn't bother me. I'm not really that interested in playing to that time kind of limit, because I think by the time it mattered, I think we'd both already kind of decided that the game was going to finish, and it wasn't going to be via time. And even though the time was not like 17 minutes to 24 or something like that, I vaguely remember, and I was just like, honestly, it doesn't really matter. But we'll just play it, and I think the game was going to end in like 2 rounds anyway. That wasn't the way I wanted to win that matchup anyway. And yeah.
Yeah, but like, to talk about clocks in general, I think this might be one of the worst ways to win the game, just by timeouting your opponent. And like, if it happened to me, like, I think I would rather resign than take that win. Like, or just talk to and maybe get some score, because like it really feels bad to not earn that victory, or just, oh, he took 5 more minutes than you, and now you win. You don't really develop as a player, because deathlock your opponent. So like, I would really have it would really seem bad taste to me if someone did this.
I have to admit, in my last game against Forest, and I know Johannes was like, oh, I've only got 3 minutes left. It was the only game where someone was like actually low on time, and I didn't want to win the game with a crushing because he ran out of time, but I really enjoyed what the lack of time created, which was I think everyone was quite a few people were watching our game at that point because it was the only game on, and a lot of people were like they play so quickly when like the time's low we played so quickly, and it wasn't just like he was playing quickly and then I had loads of time. We both played quickly because the game can be really fun if you're both playing super rapidly like that, and the game was more fun because of it. Like I genuinely enjoyed the game because we were playing faster, and that's not a comment against my opponents or anything like that. It purely is like when you get two very good players and they're playing really quickly, you get your adrenaline up. It's fun. It gets really enjoyable. And I don't want to win the game on time, but if time being clocked means that happens more often, that's a good thing for me. I enjoy those feelings of being like, gotta play, gotta play, gotta play, even if you're not the one running out of time. Because that's just, especially when you've got friendly opponents and people that you enjoy spending time with over the other side of the board. Who doesn't want those adrenaline-filled moments? Great, love it.
Yeah. I remember against Brickfish, it was basically we had the clock, and I was like, I got the habit from Michael to say, pass the clock, pass the clock, pass the clock.
Yeah.
And I saw that it really annoyed him. And I said to myself, yeah, to himself, I'm just gonna annoy the heck out of you with this. I will make you want to resign mentally just because of the clocks. And yeah. So there is like, I think those were the two instances where clock really, had some impact on the game. But
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, but like maybe to talk about this in general, I used to play a lot of 40k, and 40k in Poland, it was like a standard on big tournaments to use clocks. But basically the rules were you have to use the clock unless you both agree to not do this. But then, you still have to finish the game. So like there is no, we didn't have time. That doesn't matter, get the score. So it's like on your own responsibility, and you kind of have to trust your opponent that he's gonna not do this. Because like the game ending one round early, it's the same as in Song, can make quite different score. So like if we finish now, it's a standard, but if we played full game, it might be crashing. And what's more to say? Yeah, and it's like I kind of got used to this, and I kind of feel it provides some comfort to the player. Like if I know I have my time and you have your time, I can take however long I want to take to make sure I make the right decision. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have to carry you. You literally cannot. I mean, you can, but like it's my time. You shouldn't carry it because it's on my time, so I can consider all my options if it's it's at round 1 or round 5. And it kind of just can give you a feeling of some stability, and like it in some way it ensures more fair play because I cannot screw my opponent over accidentally because I took more time.
That's
so
like
true.
Yeah, that definitely is true on the last point. I think it's weird though because I think in the vast majority of games, like it's weird, isn't it? The vast majority of games, the clocks don't matter. Not really. They're there as say as that fallback piece, but actually then I think in the games where the clocks do matter, they probably matter more than a lot of players give credit for, right? In that if the game is going that slowly and there is a risk of someone timing out, then that is probably either one player is playing too slowly or both players are playing too slowly in that game. And it should, if anything, it shouldn't be a case of you lose if you run out of time, but it should be more of a maybe you should play a bit faster. I'm not actually a big fan myself of saying that in a tournament games must reach a natural conclusion, because like the game against Keijo is a very, very good example of this, in that the game didn't reach a natural conclusion. He had 2 units left on the board technically, and he said to me, look, I think the game is over, but also he's not going to resign because resigning's a really bad thing to do. but he also knew that he could not change the game result whatsoever. Like, there was just no position. And the thing is with this kind of game, not necessarily every game mode, but a lot of game modes, you genuinely cannot change the game outcome after a certain point. You know, and so you can just talk it out, right? You can literally just say, well, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. You're probably going to die here, unless you particularly want to try and kill another unit for kill points. Should we just say this? And if your opponent agrees, that's fine. That's absolutely fine in my book. But that isn't technically coming to a natural resolution. You're coming to a point where a natural resolution can be agreed. And I think that can happen sometimes. And again, clocks can allow that to happen. But James, interestingly, James says, I thought the clocks were a complete waste. Interestingly, I thought they were as well, because on the most part, I think that the overall management of the clock wasn't done very well. So one of the things that Carlo did at the Invitational is that Carlo started the clocks, meaning that, like, the first table, Carlo starts the clock, and he's walking down and he's like pressing the start buttons on each of them. But there's, what, 5 seconds difference, maybes, between the top clock and like the second or third clock and the fourth, fifth clock, whatever, right? So there's 2 hours of the round, and everyone's basically playing to the same round time. Whereas in our game, I know I'll actually pick out the game against Forest is a really good example of this. James, one of the TOs, or one of the judges, I should say, said there's half an hour left in the round, and I looked to mine and Forest's clock, and Forest had about 17 minutes left, and I had about 30 minutes left, and I was like, well, no, there's not. There's 47 minutes left. There's not 30 minutes left. So either we've started this clock 17 minutes later than we should have started it, or this isn't being managed right from a TO perspective. We were setting up, partially because we were getting back in after having a little break and things like that. And it was the last game of the day. We weren't that fussed. But Forrest and me are setting up the game, and we finally get to the end of deployment and chatting about stuff. And the table next to us has already started, like, halfway through round 1. Most of their units already moved up the board. And we've not actually started round 1 yet. We didn't have our clock started. We weren't on the clock. And yet the other table next to us is already like 10 minutes in. That, to me, for me and Forrest, it didn't matter. It was the last game of the event. Who cares? But, like, that isn't good round management from, like, a TO perspective, in my opinion, or a judgment perspective. And then it really does raise the question of what's the point of the clocks, really? Because all they're there is to try and even the clocks out between time, but, like, in most games that's going to happen anyway, personally. Yeah, I don't know. That was just my opinion of it. And that's not to say that I don't like playing on clocks. I actually enjoy playing on clocks quite a lot. I just didn't particularly see the way they were implemented being that effective at the event.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also found it really weird because, like, once again, I will refer to 40k quite a bit because I have some experience from that, and I really liked how it's implemented here. One part is making sure that you are not cheated on by your opponent. Him just taking 30 minutes more, and then we cannot finish the game. It goes for me. Shame. The also other part, especially in 40k, is that the games are so long that they can easily take like 4 hours. And in tournament, you don't have that much. It's like 3 hours, 3.5. And the clocks were here to ensure that you make it in time, because you cannot afford the delay with, while you are anyway playing for a whole day. And then sorry, give me a second.
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah. So the clock matters was the players had to do this, but like the clocks are here to ensure you finish on time. So like you cannot do you both have 1 hour each, but you don't count deployment and it doesn't just fit into the 2 hours time frame. So like it seemed weird to me because then what's the point of the clock if we can? There is no time left, but we both have 20 minutes. Why? Why the deployment shouldn't count in that? I think everything should be on time, someone's time.
I agree.
Or like, if you need time for this, then you can just make your time shorter. Like that should take 20 minutes to deploy, but then you have both 50 minutes, not 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'd much rather like have deployment on the clock as well, because I think it just means that the whole process is then clocked, and then it means you have 2 hours of the round. And if someone can arrive at their table 5 minutes before the round starts and set up, that's fine. Like having 5 extra minutes, 10 extra minutes to set up and do all the pre-game stuff, get your army sorted. I've got no issues with that at all. But in terms of like the actual game, is that you've got this is when it's due to start and this is when it's due to finish. The clock starts at that start point. If you've already started the game 5 minutes before that, if you really have, let's say you start at 5 minutes to 2 instead of 2 o'clock, and it's due to end at 4, then hey, you and your opponent get 2 hours and 5 minutes to play your game. Like, you know, well done. But ultimately, the clock starts at that 2 hour moment, at that exact moment, and everything you do beyond that, before the end of the round, is on the clock.
Also, maybe to add into that, I also understand the need for clocks because I would never assume that my opponent is gonna intentionally slow play against me, but it's the thing you don't know it's going to happen, and especially in the previous patch with Doran and Siu running around, like some players really wanted that game to go for 6 rounds and some didn't. Like some might not want that to happen. Oh my fucking god! I cannot get my thoughts straight.
Don't worry. It happens. The pressure of being on live TV.
Yeah, I thought the game against Carlo is gonna be enough pressure, but no, the stream beat me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but when this happens and someone actually solo plays against me, and you realize when you have like 15 minutes left and you cannot finish the game, that's the one of the worst things that can happen.
Yeah.
So like the clock is just there to ensure that you have good experience from that and you don't get scammed. So like just using them, preventive measure to that.
Yeah. It's also the other flip side, which is I've played games differently, and I've definitely seen games played differently way more often. When like the end round gets called, like, oh, no more rounds after this, and it's like that changes the way you play completely, because you can play way more defensively, way more non-risky to win a game you're already up, or play way more risky to try and get a game back that you're losing, knowing that yes, my position next round would be terrible and I would lose next round, but we'd never play the next round, so it doesn't matter. Like that is a thing, and it's definitely something that every player has seen on a table, if not experienced themselves. And that's not something I like either. I'd rather play the game to the point where there is not a natural conclusion, but like I'd rather play the game to within limits. And the problem is that changing that limit halfway through a game to be like, oh, now by the way it's the end, that's never a good feeling for anyone. And clocks do at least allow that. You're never surprised by the end, and the end should never be a surprise for a player, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree, and like is what I said before. It's like if you win because you didn't play 6 rounds, then this feels really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like what's the point of taking that win? You didn't win actually that game. You won some other game, some game that took 5 rounds.
What's actually interesting, though, of course, is that, and we've definitely done this before, played games which you don't win by 10 victory points, but also the game is definitely over before the 6th or 5th round, and you can play 4 rounds, and it's like, right, well, on the next round you'll win. Guaranteed, I can't actually stop it. The problem is that sometimes that doesn't happen. And that's very few and far between, but there are a lot of games that basically finish. But yeah. In an event where winning all rounds guarantee the win, but losing one game could still win you secondaries, do you have any extra thought to degree of victory? Yeah, like I do. I very, very, very much was thinking about how heavily I win games, like a lot. I knew that if when playing a game, I knew that if you wanted to win the event or do really well in the event, you would need to crush every game if you could. So I was playing for that a little bit in every game that I played. The only game I won which I didn't get a crushing was the game against Sophie, where I was playing to win the game because winning the game was more important than, I didn't have the opportunity to guarantee a crushing. I was just trying to win. And I think similarly, right? Your loss to Carlo was a narrow literally one victory point. Standard against me, and then every other game you crushed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and also this. Well, while it eventually was my doomfall because I lost against Carlo and then I play against you, which I think after taking some time to think about this, it's really tough to win that matchup on Feast for Crows. Like, yeah, so that's bad luck from me. But like then I end up with 5 to score, and so it's not really that great. But just because I did such big wins, I managed to be fourth and be the best lancer of the LGT.
A clear 3 points ahead of the fifth place in Martin.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that these players didn't play well. They did, but like you basically pulled 3 points down from those losses, which otherwise wouldn't have been there. And it's really interesting. So I'm up there as well on 23 secondaries. Carlo's up obviously on 25. And there's a lot of people on the 1920 mark in that kind of like 5 and 2 bracket, and obviously friend on 6 and 1 as well. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I do think margin of victory matters. I wasn't thinking as much about kill points because I think kill points is always a weird one anyway, because kill points don't matter that much unless you really don't. Your secondaries matter more. Tertiaries, unit destroy points don't matter a huge amount, but ultimately, if you can get them higher, you will and should, I guess. But it depends on the style of the event. Yeah. All right then.
Yeah, that is that. Well, while we are at that, there is one thing also to be proud of. I was the worst win for both of you and Carlo. So I might not have done as well as I hoped for, but at least I gave you a run for it.
Well, that's exactly it. Like this is actually this is gonna be kind of like really one of the points is that I was lucky. Well, I wasn't lucky. It was the other side. I took my loss early in the event, which meant that playing Carlo was more unlikely. I genuinely thought I was gonna get a Carlo matchup, and then it didn't happen. Got another matchup instead. But yeah, you played against myself and Carlo. I had the opportunity to play you, and I was looking actually at the list here. Apart from Carlo and I've already forgotten his name. Mathieu.
Yeah, Mathieu.
Yeah.
Quite well.
Yeah. Apart from Carlo and Mathieu, I literally played against everyone else in the top. Oh, I didn't play Mr. Ray or Orc either. So what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus myself. 5 of the top 10 players I played. Carlo would have played loads as well, I imagine. Played Forest, he played yourself, and he played Orc Boy. You played a few of them, I think, as well. So you played. Oh yeah, you played Carlo, myself, and Midnight, who just ended up just below.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing a lot of people near the top makes a big difference, I think. In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, good to say. Well done, Mickey. You had some really tough. Yeah, you had some really tough matchups in here.
Yeah, I had tough matchups, but yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's what it is. I will also give special credit to Dan as well, who unfortunately ended up going 5 and 2. Oh, sorry, 6-2. No, 5-2's right. He ended up absolutely smashing day one, 4 wins out of 4. Was doing really well. He played into Aaron first thing on the Sunday, sorry, which was of the 4 undefeated. It was Aaron, Carlo, Sophie, and Dan. And Dan beat Aaron to go into a Carlo matchup on Feast for Crows, which Dan lost unfortunately. But you know, this is great. I mean, this is a classic Saturday or Friday night down the club for us. Is a Dan versus Carlo matchup. Dan's pulled a few wins recently, but unfortunately lost this one. And then he lost in the Martel Mirror, which was very close, 10-8 loss as well. Match year, which I was really gutted about because he'd have done probably quite well if he'd have pulled the win. He might have got 2 more secondaries depending on the level of win, and he would have been 6-1 as well, and it would have been Carlo, me, and then Dan as the top 3 players, which would have been fantastic. But alas, Mathieu, he pulled out the win.
Sorry. We had to stop you somehow.
I know, right? You had to stop.
We didn't come here for nothing, so
I know.
we might not win. But at least we'll ruin your top 3.
I know, right? I was really great. I was really gutted, and I'm really happy for Dan though as overall because Dan's like improved as a player continuously, and it's really good to see him doing well in event. And again, he was ill. You know, Carlo and Dan ill on the Sunday, definitely. And I was really happy to see both of them still performing really. So, credit where credit's due, and of course, big credit goes to Carlo for what has basically been a dominant season for Carlo. When I say season, I mean tournament season. He has won the Always Winter GT at the start of the year. He then follows up with a win in the Northern GT and a win in the Welsh GT or GT Cymru, finishing it off with an LGT win as well, meaning that he literally has won the 4 big tournaments in the UK calendar this year. Quite probably, and certainly in my opinion, the best player in the UK, almost hands down. I'm very lucky to obviously get to play him a lot less than I used to, but get to play him a lot locally, and obviously very lucky to have him on the site and on the ground every now and then as well. For those of you wondering why he's not here, it's because it's the only night he gets with his partner at the moment. Partner's very busy this week, so he's spending some time with her tonight. That's part of it. Part of it is also he hates me. That's not true. I can't speak.
What the attitude! he goes on to win a big tournament and he doesn't even show here.
I know, right? But yeah, no. Obviously, massive congratulations to Carlo for that because it's a big clean sweep, really, of the big events in the UK. Again, congratulations to Keijo Isaac as well for winning the Invitational and a very respectable 6th place as well in the LGT as well. So that moves us on to prizes. Now, prizes were something. It's difficult, you know, is potentially a contentious issue here, and it is something that perhaps I think a lot of us were a bit apprehensive, maybe about, but also we wanted to. Everyone always wants to know more. There was no mention of anything painting-wise, and there were painting prizes and a painting thing. We'll go through that in a minute. But all the pictures from the painting winners as well, which I'll go through and show you if you haven't seen them. They are brilliant. However, I think there were a few concerns and kind of queries about the way prizes were handled and what was done with the prizes, I guess, in the end, as well as what was there and available. So, Carlo winning the event got, and I'll show you the kind of thing he got. So I've got similar ones. He got one of these certificates for the UKTC certificates for coming first. Obviously, I've got 2nd place runner-up one, which is very similar to the one. You can't quite see it, but very similar to the ones which were given out at Leeds GT. This is the smaller event, which was an invitational and a qualifier. So everyone who won a best in faction, so as a best in faction one for what little it matters, you've got your, I don't know if you've actually got yours on hand, Sophie, but you've got one for best Lannister, right?
Yep.
Yep.
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere. Oh, actually, you have got something interesting. So there is that. I'll show you that in a second. Or you can show that in a second, or I'll get mine out. Carlo for first place won. Also got a trophy and kind of other celebratory thing. Now, the reason it was a little bit kind of questionable is the trophy looks awfully similar to this one. This is the one that I got at Leeds GT, and it is basically the same trophy that Carlo got as for the LGT. Not a problem. I'm not complaining about the quality of the trophy at all, but it's the one that's handed out by the LGT for events, as well as a bottle of champagne. I've still got mine. I haven't drunk it yet. Again, this is what I got from Leeds. Carlo got the same thing at London. So it's a bit weird that the tournament prizes are basically the same. And that's not a criticism, but it is the same stuff. We also saw the London Grand Tournament, and again, if you've not seen these previously, medals. These medals, they're kind of designed for 40k. Here we go. Got like an orc's head on it. It says London Grand Tournament. That's the silver one for second place. Silver, bronze, and gold for the 3 places. There we go. I just dropped that on a unit of Dens, and I've definitely broken some. Whoops. So that's what was given out to the players that placed, and Carlo. Then there was some Simon product. Simon product-wise, 2 starters, 2 Martel starters, and 20 unit boxes. Carlo got Carlo's up first. He got a Martel starter. And then various different people won a unit box of their choice. Specifically, runner-up and third place got one, and then best in faction that weren't those players then got one each.
And also painting prizes.
And also, yes, the painting prizes. So painting also won, again, certificate and a box of choice.
And also, I think the last player got one?
Yes, Wooden Spoon. Wooden Spoon got one as
well. With a box, yeah.
Yeah. And that was it. And that's not a criticism at all, right? Not a criticism, simply an observation. But again, Carlo this year had provided one of the wooden gladius. I don't have a picture easily of Keijo with his, but in case people had forgotten, wooden gladiuses that look a little bit like this. Carlo had another one of those with a slightly nicer design on the end there as well. But that was given out as a prize for the Invitational, as well as certificates and things like that as well. We also saw we didn't do best in faction, actually, to be fair, because there was virtually no one in the event, or certainly not enough factions represented. We didn't see. Oh, Most Sporting got one as well. I do apologise, Brian. We didn't see any, apart from product, Song of Ice and Fire style things given out. One of the things that a lot of people have seen in other GTs and a lot of other events, be it corner holders that we saw at Swedish Nationals, a Song of Ice and Fire themed dice, or I'm trying to think what else is picking out, rulers, the French Nationals, and by Sunday Slaughter at US Nationals. I'm not saying that they'd have access to things like promos and stuff, but like obviously US Nationals had that going as well. Custom whatever, custom dice trays, custom plaques. Like at the Northern GT, they had the plaques with the faction winners on and things like that. None of that was given out, which was, I don't know. How did you feel about that, Sophie?
Okay. Yeah, I also saw that, and it kind of bothered me. Like, maybe it's also experience from other tournaments, but I also always felt it's really nice for people to get something. Because, like, in that scenario, the 4th place wasn't guaranteed to get anything, or like 5th place, anything like that. And, like, we could probably agree that, getting that high is some kind of achievement. So like I feel it might be kind of weird for them to not get anything. Like I know obviously tournament organizers are limited in what they can give out.
Yeah.
Like if they just get boxes and that's their only prize, well, that's a shame. They cannot, they have to make do with that.
Yeah.
But it's always nice, for more players to get even small things, like because it's always some kind of souvenir from that. It doesn't have to be that useful, but to get
Yes.
something makes you feel better for the fact you participated, even if you did not do that great.
So I spoke to Paul as well during the event because I wasn't sure if they were even doing best in faction at that point, which was a total different thing. And I'd actually said to Paul that I had some stuff that I would donate. So, those of you that saw the tactics boards last week, I think it was, on Tourney Ground, you'll see I actually have the Free Folk one here because obviously best Free Folk. I think Sophie's got the best Lannister one, I think, which is actually
That's
one
correct.
of my favourite ones. Tactics boards there. So these were kind of, I gave them to Paul and said, look, Paul, these probably go to best in faction. And then most sporting got a Vargo Hote promotional. So Gregor's came away with a Vargo Hote promo as well. Yeah, it's in my opinion, that stuff was given to me by Jim to go to the community. That's the reason I took it on board myself, and that's the reason. Well, that's personally why I thought I was given it, not just for me to keep. So that was donated, but I was a little bit disappointed that that was the only stuff, Song of Ice and Fire, that wasn't product, that was even remotely related to the game, that was actually then given out to the community at the event. That would be a personal thing on my half that I would have liked to see more of that myself.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be expensive either. I think there's a misconception that people want to see money spent on these things, and it's not about spending lots of money. It's about providing something that's nice. I actually genuinely, like, obviously I've got some various stuff from different tournaments. I still keep a lot of like random stuff in my boxes from tournaments past, right? I haven't unpacked from the tournament yet, right? And I still keep things like this. This is a badge that the French national, they made these badges for everyone who attended French nationals because it told you what languages you speak, what you look like, and what factions you're playing, right? They were just provided to everyone at the tournament. I still have that in my box just because who doesn't want one? I've still got. Which year was this? Jesus, I don't even remember what year this was. This was LGT Grand Tournament last year, maybe. I can't remember. Maybe this was last year. Maybe this was first year. But there you go. Michael Arnold, Mazaraf, DWG, and the faction I'm playing with a little name tag on it. That is something that I still keep in this box that I just took to the tournament, like just there. Because it's useful. It's always handy, and it also reminds me of which box is mine, and if anyone else sees it, they knows it's my box as well. Even that's something for me to remember the event by. And I will always remember the event by the memories I have. Don't need things like that really to do it. But like it's a memento. It's something to come away with. And I'm not saying that that's the only thing. But like even stuff like that, which is basically free to make, is great. And yeah, Michael Rainsbury Caldo, he made those many moons ago. I still keep it, Caldo. Don't you worry. But yeah. And Mark makes a very good point. As a group, if you think of like 60 players attending the event, £4,200, £4,200 was spent on the event for ticket admission. Now, some of that obviously goes into venue hire, mats, all of those kinds of things that the LGT takes a proportion of. But then it makes you question, like, was there much spent on the rest of it? Or was that all just taken by LGT as an organisation, as profit? And again, that's not a criticism of the organisers of the song event, certainly not of Paul. But is that LGT then just kind of taking a lot of that profit and using it for 40k or something else? it does make you wonder a little bit, and it does make you question what really kind of where did that kind of go. So yeah, just something to think about. What was that? Tiger Hawk says, if I can make plaques for the circuit and cheap supplies from Michaels for our monthly tournaments, big tournament organizers can come up with plaques for faction awards. I agree, Tiger. Certificates are actually fine. I don't mind certificates, but
I will say though, I thought that they kind of like personalization. Like at least they could have printed down that it's ASOIAF event or first place, second place. You don't have to write that down manually.
yeah, this is a London Grand Tournament certificate where what you won it for was written on. And again, this is not a criticism. This is what LGT provides, and the winner and the date and the person running the event. These are not a Song of Ice and Fire certificates. These are GT certificates that have then been made to be a Song of Ice and Fire ones because they weren't a Song of Ice and Fire certificate.
Yeah, and also regarding the badges we got for the first, second, third place from Invitational and main event, I kind of also felt they lack personalization.
Yeah.
Like you don't even see they're from ASOIAF. You don't even know what year they're from. It's like generic badge. I'm not. Is there any difference between mine and yours?
No. Your one, you came second in the second invitational, right? That will be exactly the same as that one.
Give me a second. I'll go grab my one.
Genuinely, will be exactly the same. The reason I say that is because I'm very lucky, right? Those of you who remember I came third in the LGT last year.
The exact same one.
Exact same one again. Yep, I've got they're exactly the same, just different colours. Now those are provided to you by the LGT themselves, and they're part of what the LGT can provide a tournament. So you actually, I think they purchase these as a tournament organizer, and I don't want to say that I'm right or wrong here because I don't know the full information. But LGT provides these, and I think you can purchase these along with the champagne and the trophy for like a small fee. I don't think it's a huge amount, but LGT can actually say, yeah, you can buy these and we'll bring them along on the day. You just pick them up. So like a lot of tournament organizers will give these out because they are easy to obtain and they are provided at a relatively cheap cost by the LGT for your events. So while they're not personalized, and it's certainly not what I would think should be the main draw for the event, they shouldn't be like the main trophy or whatever. These are like completely okay for a tournament organizer to give out. The Legion ones would have been very similar if they took up the offer. The Armada ones would have been similar. X-Wing would have been similar. There was a Middle Earth happening next to us, a Warhammer. They would all been very similar. And again, not criticism.
Yeah, just it would be nice.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not something organizers can change easily.
No, certainly not. And it depends on what the organizers have in terms of a budget going through. You know, again, I've seen the kind of behind the scenes of the LGT previously, and there has been a budget, but where that budget's come from, be it ticket sales proportional, then getting spent for that various stuff, or other things. You know, Paul being part of the LGT kind of organization team, he actually joined the LGT. He might not have had access to that same level of budget from ticket sales as previous organizers were, because he's part of the LGT himself, or he had joined the LGT organization group himself, so he might have had access to that, which is fine, by the way. This is the other thing, I'm not expecting necessarily a TO to throw a huge amount of their own money at this. That isn't really what I don't think anyone here is asking for them to do. But if a tournament organizer is throwing 100, 200 pounds of their own money at just trying to source actual like trophies and stuff, like that, not asking someone to do that, that's great, but I'm not asking them to, not really. It should be a proportion from the ticket sales being able to generate that. Really, that's the only thing.
We should keep in mind that, that I don't think they're forced to do it at all, so it's nice that,
exactly,
that they do this.
they're doing it willingly. I'm not going to ask them to spend money of their own pocket. If they want to, different matter entirely. But yeah. Yeah.
So just for a quick interrupt, Ilya said there should be a least sporting award, but I think there was already one for the first place, so I don't think we need another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right then. So that's the prizes and everything else. Yeah.
One more thing. I think it was really nice. Well, the way they handled it with boxes, it was quite nice. That you don't have, the box is not set. You just come here and pick one, which makes up for some, at least you could pick, you have some choice. I've seen events, and again, not a criticism, where you get like for best in faction, you got a box from that faction.
Yes.
So like, congratulations, you won. You were a best free folk, so you probably have Varamir. Here is a box of Varamir.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks.
That's an absolute classic. I did think, and they didn't do it, which is the right. They did it completely the right way with the boxes actually. But you win best in faction free folk. Here's free folk heroes box 3. And I was like, oh, please don't do that. Please don't do that. That's like the worst thing you can do. And they didn't do it, which is obviously really good. We'll go through do you want to do stats for the event first, or photos from the best painted, and then we'll talk about Poland, I guess. What do you want to do first?
Well, maybe before that, would you like to share some of your experience from the game? Which games did you enjoy?
Which games did I enjoy? I mean, personally, this Sophie person I played against, terrible game, really bad sport, hated every minute of it. Yeah.
There is a reason I used free folk dice.
Never want to play her again. No, I didn't have a bad game. I actually genuinely did not have a bad experience at all this year. I played 7 rounds, 3 on the Friday. I played 10 rounds in total, obviously, same as you. What I was actually slightly annoyed at, and this is not a comment of any of the players by any stretch, but I played 10 games, and this big wedge of 28%, I felt that wedge of 28%. Holy hell did I feel that wedge. Played 10 games over the weekend, and 6 of them were against Lannister. I played 6 Lannisters, and then 1 Martell, Baratheons twice, and a Night's Watch. I only actually played against 4 factions over 10 games. Now I know that last year everyone was like, oh, there's tons of free folk, tons of free folk, tons of free folk. But like, my personal experience this year, I was just like, there's just so many Lannisters. Now one of them I obviously played twice. I played Sophie twice, which does skew it slightly. But yeah, I felt that 28% Lannister wedge really hard this year. Which is fine. It is what it is. But none of my rounds, none of my opponents were bad, and I was played a mixture of friends and be it friends of old and new friends, and generally people I enjoy. Well, my actual thing, I mean, I played Littlefinger, as I say, known him for years. First game against him competitively, really enjoyed it. I played Mark, someone I've been playing a lot this year competitively against, online, face to face, chatting with him between games, going out for food with him. Mark's a great guy, absolutely fine. I played Isaac, who's a friend. I played James, who absolutely loves the show, great friend. One of the guys that we quite like from the Microsoft Express Train group, who's a group that 2 years ago had no idea who they really were, and since then the likes of Pascal, James, and all of that are some of them patrons, and most of them absolutely stand-up guys as well. Really enjoy seeing them on the circuit. I then played Martin, I played yourself, I played Johannes. These are people I've met online, spoken to online, then got to play face to face. I genuinely didn't have a bad thing to say about a single one of my opponents. Which also means that none of the games particularly stood out. Yours obviously being the hardest, and was a very close game. But Johannes, I mean, it was the last game of the tournament, and I said to him, the winner has to buy the loser a beer, and that just that tells you the whole tone of the event, doesn't it? And the tone of the tournament and the game. And we had an absolutely fun time. And Johannes, well, you met Johannes, Sophie. Johannes is a lovely guy, genuinely lovely. So Yeah, I had a great tournament and everyone was great. In the ELO, I played yourself again. I played who play round one? Oh, Rossi round one, who I've not played in person but spoken to many moons. Known Rossi for years as well. Fantastic to play against him over the table. And then I finished the day playing Joron from Rotterdam Right Scars, who's a lovely guy. Hung around with him a lot, as well as Tice from Rotterdam White Scars. The pair of them, lovely. Tice was there, didn't play all weekend, was just there filming, recording, talking to players, getting shots, cameras, and stuff like that. Tice, absolute legend. And both the pair of them, really nice guys. It was fantastic to see them at the event as a whole. So yeah. Does that sum it up for you, Sophie?
Yeah, I'll accept that. And just to answer the Carly's, actually there was not a single golden component swordsman unit used in the top 3 because Carlo did not play Cotter a single time.
He did actually.
Oh no.
Yes, Carlo did play Cotter Pike into Dan. The only game he played Cotter Pike actually into Dan. So that is a small thing there if people didn't know. Carlo did play Cotter Pike into Dan. So yeah.
What?
But yeah, but I think he did that because he took 2 lists and he said Carlo said you should always run both lists in a tournament. So I'm guessing that he just followed through on that and played it because he should. Or because he said he should.
I asked him that during our game, like, what was the point of Cotter? What did he want to play it against? He was like, I don't know. I hope I find out.
Yeah. But yeah, very few GCS. I mean, there are a few more as we dip down. We see some in the kind of like 2 loss brackets. But yeah, on the most part, most people at the top didn't run GCS. Or so, some of the people at the top didn't run GCS. That's not to say that they didn't run them at all. But yeah, stats-wise, Kevin had by far the most entries, over double the next one, which was Gregor Clegane. But they are making up 28% of the pie there. You know, it's nearly a third Lannister players at the event. Strangely enough, Lannisters come away with a 40% win rate, which does happen when a faction is picked highly, or when a commander is picked highly, a faction picked highly, its win rate typically drops. That's a thing that you could say normally happens. That just shows to show the strength of Mance back in the day when Free Folk were so highly picked and Free Folk still had an okay win rate. It wasn't amazing, but it was okay. But Mance in particular had a very strong win rate. What is interesting to see, and I know that most of these are obviously from Carlo, and Night's Watch had a relatively low entry size at 9%, but there were a total of was it only 2 John lists? I have to check actually. Yeah, John. Okay, 4 John lists, and John comes away with 13 games played and 12 wins, which people don't know. John list is very strong.
Yeah, but half of them were Carlos.
Yeah, and half of them were Carlo. Steer. That was all me. I'm the only player at the event to run Steer. Ran in 5 games and I lost 1 of them. This is entirely 1 player. John is mostly Carlo propping that up, but even if you take Carlos out of that, which should have been 6 games, it's still probably Marky, I think. Probably running the other Jon Snow and doing very well, only picking up 1 loss as well. Harmonella still doing fine. Rightful Heir still doing fine. Victarion, great. Gregor, pretty much average. Gregor doing good. The interesting thing being those 13 wins, I think is about 4 of those are yourself, Sophie?
Yeah, there might be, but well, thanks to you guys, I kind of loaded it.
That's true, actually, yeah. But then we see Kevin, 45 games played, 47% win rate. Kevin racked up a lot of games at the weekend, and a 47% win rate isn't terrible, considering the number of games he played. It's an okay win rate. It's certainly not very strong. I think where we talk about the Lannister win rate being 40% is when you look down here. 16 Roose Bolton games were played, and he won 3 of them. That's pretty sad times. 3 Tywin and 2 Jaime as well, probably from one player. But yeah, like the other Lannister commanders, not good. So yeah, it's Kevin, it's Gregor, or you're not playing Lannister. That is unfortunately what the LGT tells you.
Holy hell! I didn't realize how bad it was down there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like the Roos being 16 games played is a lot of games as well. Like a lot of games played with no wins.
Yes.
Starks came away with a 39% win rate over the weekend. That's also not great. Great John Umber, 44% win rate isn't amazing. And then you had, Brynden Tully, I don't know, 20%, but it was only 5 games. There was nothing really major pulling Starks up. Rob and Eddard had okay at 50%, but like Great John Umber's by far the most played commander for Starks, and he's only at 44%. Starks did not have a good showing, and probably proving that they're actually not that good. Not really. Newton and Bolton's neutral and Bolton were only represented by one player, so not really going to talk about those too much. Free Folk was only how many Free Folk? It was what 10%. So it was it would have been 6 players, 6 Free Folk players, yeah. And they come away with a 45% win rate, which is okay. Me and Jacob being the kind of most prominent two. There's some other players which you'll see later on, playing the likes of Rattleshirt and Mag, maybe he's up there as well. Quite a lot of people like Mag. They're great walrus. What's actually very interesting is that Martell came away with a 73 win rate. That's the really other big talking point. The Night's Watch 63 is very, very strong, predominantly propped up by that Jon Snow, of course. But Jaw did fine. Cotter dropped off a little bit. But yeah, Martell, 73% win rate. With Abara, Daemon, Armanella, and Oberyn all racking up games and all being played. Some only by one player, but they were all played. That says a lot, I think, about Martells and potentially about the players playing them. So, yeah. I don't think Martells are weak. I don't know if Martells are that strong. 73% win rate is a very high percentage win rate, but within the bounds of kind of performance-related things based on matchups and players and stuff. But 73% is high. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe let's take a look at how individually Martel players did, like to see where they are.
We have
there is Maciej on third place.
Yeah. Johannes 7th, admittedly on secondaries, but he's in the 2-loss bracket.
Yeah,
as
but
well as
he was still fighting for second. Yeah,
he was literally fighting second, yeah, against myself in the last game.
Yeah,
Dan,
so we aren't that far off from having 2 Martels in top 3.
No, not far off at all from 2 Martells in the top 3 at all. We have quite a few Night's Watch creeping in towards the back end, so you got Night's Watch at 10th, 14th, and 15th, which again represented by their 63% win rate. But yeah, we got three Martells in the top, just top 11 called drop off, and then the next one's 24th, and I don't think there's a single other Martell player. Yeah, so every Martell player ended up in the top half.
Interesting, but I really didn't expect such results from them, especially considering how low they were on stats. I know it's not indicative, but I wasn't expecting miracles from them.
We look at kind of like the worst performing faction, and it is definitely Stark. We see Stark kind of mirrored there quite well, in that the highest Stark coming in at 17th with Oliver Ikbenberg, player from the Netherlands. That's the first Stark player at 17th. I'm not really, again, not including neutrals and Boltons, because only represented by one player each. You've got Night's Watch, Free Folk, Martell, Lannister, Greyjoy in at 8th, Baratheon at 9th, Targ at 12th. So got nearly all the other factions represented until we hit 17th. And Greyjoys were doing okay until the last round. We see Yannick up at 8th. Targ, who are the worst faction as rated on stats at the moment, creeping in there at 12th. The next Targ isn't down to yet 28th at 9. So yeah. Targ's also not having the best of tournaments, but actually came away with a respectable 58% win. But they didn't do that well over. Again, relatively low number of Targs, only 3 players.
Yeah, well, no surprise how they didn't really get much depth, I think.
So, LGT, that's that. We'll go through the pictures, shall we?
Yeah.
Now, did you actually see the best painted armies and stuff? Did you actually see all these or not?
No, I only saw the pictures. I kind of heard that they're happening, but you saw my army. I had like 3 models painted. So
I know.
and at some point it happened, and then I saw the pictures from Thais.
This was the best painted solo, which I think you played against, right? In Dan's army?
Mm,
Don't
did I?
remember.
Yeah, you see, I was so focused on the game, so like.
Yeah, it's fine.
Did he run? What's this unit? Outriders?
This is Unit of Outriders. It's the best painted solo. This is actually a Fortune Seeker, I think, or Glory Seeker. I can't remember which one it is. But it's a Hedge Knight. But it's converted because Dan likes to convert things. It's a Hedge Knight converted to be a bit more kind of like sand based. See there the kind of 2 images there of the conversion. Wearing a head wrap rather than the helmet and things like that. And yeah.
In my defense, he did not use that model against me.
Okay, he didn't.
He had no attachments in Outriders.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but great model.
Yeah, really well done.
Those are free hands on the shield, right? Yeah, those look nice.
Best unit was picked up by Yaron with his Baratheon Champions of the Stag, which I've seen before. This is a really nice unit. I'm a big fan of this unit in general.
They have the energy of like a poster, you would see that the unit painted like that on the box if they, had paintings.
Yeah, it's almost like exactly what you'd expect to see from the unit being painted, and when it's done well, it does look good. Also, I mean, if you can't quite see it, guys, and that photo does actually do it some justice, but let's zoom right in and look at those guys.
Oh, damn.
They are actually painted horses. Solo, there's enforcement demean attachment. It meant solo model, as in single model, not solo base, but single model. Best single model. That's what they meant by solo. So there we go. That's the best unit. And then we move on to the best army. And if people haven't seen this army before, don't worry, you'll see lots of pictures of this in the next few minutes. This is OJ's Free Folk army. OJ's one of the guys from Chelmsford Bunker. And this Free Folk army looks good in this picture, right? Did you get a chance to see this up close at all, Sophie?
No, you were the only Free Folk player that I noticed.
Fair enough.
Like, I was so, invested into the games of me and, my pals.
Have you seen the pictures of this? Have you gone through these pictures yet?
No, I only had the chance, to get a quick glance, so this will be my first time, I think.
Let's dive in, because these are nice. So, this is the Free Folk army. We've seen some of these things before. He has one best painted solo for one of his giants, actually, in a previous year. But here's his mammoth. Zoom straight in on that. There's a painted mammoth with the carcass underneath and the deer antlered head and everything like that. Steps coming off the back. Lovely model.
Love the contrast between her and, the leather. Like the leather bars on its forehead.
Absolutely lovely. We'll see a lot of the other stuff as well as we progress through. His Baroque. Again, really clean paint job, really nicely done. those of you who haven't seen this before, you might remember me commenting on some of these stuff, best unit before maybe or something like that. See this raider in the background? He's actually got a shield on. A lot of OJ's stuff, similar to the way that Dan does it, is converted. He converts a lot of his stuff. Certainly, like general blokes, he does that a lot with. So generic figures in the army. So he's got converted raiders. I think he's got some beer wives. He's got everything else you could possibly imagine. And it's all really lovely done. There you go. You see the raiders there, and he mixes in different colors. A blue cape on a free folk raider. It's not something you'd ever see before, but it actually works really well in the theme of the army and the way he's done stuff. Yeah, I love his stuff. I genuinely love his free folk. It is genuinely the nicest one.
Yeah, and putting so much effort into painting a single unit of raiders is really impressive.
It is impressive. Actually impressive. See here the raid leader with like the deer antlered shield he's got here. Gotta love it. Let's keep going through. Varamir with the green eyes and the eagle and wolf pack. The eagle on the tree thump. Love it. Going through more raiders. The raid leader there again. Fantastic. Absolutely lovely. There's Thens in the background. Walrus and Craster. Love to see it. We haven't got onto the best bit yet. If you haven't seen this, this is the best bit. There's his 1/1, and a chariot and the giant. This giant is what won best painted solo a few years back at the LGT, but since then he's managed to paint up the giant, the chariot, and bear riders, which will be in a second. These are brilliant. I mean, the paint jobs on the units are fantastic. Again, we see a red wolf, a bit different, but it doesn't stand out. It doesn't look out of place in the army, which is crazy, because you look at like painting a red wolf, you go, oh, that wouldn't look right, but it does, and that's really impressive in my opinion. But the base on these is fantastic, right?
Absolutely, that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll get a close-up, better shot of the base here if you've not seen this stuff before. Valen, Abel the Bard there. You can see the effect there on the ice.
And the bear riders on the stone.
And the bear riders. And it's meant to show cracking ice of like an icy lake. And the effect is brilliant, genuinely brilliant. Yeah. I
absolutely love that.
Yeah, it genuinely is.
Well deserved.
Yeah, well deserved. I mean, it's genuinely is one of the nicest basing techniques and styles I've ever seen, and to have it consistent through a bunch of different units is brilliant. Love his Then paint job. My Thens, I like Thens. I really like to paint. One of the few models and infantry units I really enjoyed painting, and I'm really happy with my Thens. And I look at my Thens and go, I love my Thens. I look at his Thens and go, I love his Thens. They are painted completely differently, and I can 100% say that OJ's Thens are still lovely, and that just goes to, I think, testament to the models themselves, but also to the paint jobs. Yeah, brilliant, and paint job. And we finish it off with his mag, and yeah, I've got a soft spot for my own mag, but his mag there with the tattoo as well on the breast as well is great. Absolutely.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't notice it first.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, and it's also really hard, to make a free folk army stand out, because
it is.
They are just guys in some clothes, some random clothes, random furs.
Browns. brown, more brown.
Yep.
So overall, well deserved. Sophie, if you were to rate that out of 10, what would you give it?
Oh man, is that a trick question?
It's not a trick question. There is a right answer.
Oh, well, then I think I'm gonna fail it. I think it's solid 9. I'm sorry.
9.
I know I'll be never coming back here after this.
It's okay. It's okay. Sophie gives it a solid 9. I give it a 0. It's a strong 0 from me. It's definitely a 0 from me. But yeah, no. Joking aside, yeah, very,
You're
very
just
well.
jealous.
Very well painted army and genuinely love. So well done, OJ, for that. Is there anything more you want to mention about LGT before we move on and cover the last few things we've got to cover?
Sorry, can you I think I lost you for a moment.
That's all right. Don't worry. Is there anything else?
No, I think that's all I want to say for now. Well, if something comes to mind, I'll mention it. But no, that's pretty much all I had on my mind.
So, we'll carry on. We've got 2 more things to talk about. 4 releases coming out soon. With the first one coming up as the Stone Crows. Now, there isn't really much to go on, apart from this picture of a box. There isn't a unit description, I believe, or anything else. Stone Crows. Neutrals. Tyrion's mates that he gets from the Vale and brings down and ends up using them in the Battle of Whispering Woods and things like that and other places. Not Whispering Woods, one of the other ones. What do you think about that?
I honestly, like when I saw them, I was, who the heck are those guys? I did not remember them at all from the TV show, and I haven't read the books. So like, yeah, the guys from my group had to remind me of this whole thing happening, and it's like, okay, cool. Why are they neutrals? Maybe it didn't make sense, but like,
yeah. So it is weird that they're neutrals. I kind of get it. In that, like, they're going to be, I guess they're going to be a neutral unit that is like, some people are saying they're going to be similar to Raiders or something. I really hope that they aren't. I think that will just make the game so boring.
you need to take 2 of them.
Maybe, yeah. I'm hoping there's some characters in there, like they might do a Stonecrow box, like Shagga, son of Dolph, and all those kinds of people, and characters from the books as well. Yeah. Another generic neutral low defense infantry. Yeah, probably like another cutthroaty type.
I think my lack of excitement for that comes from the fact that I hate neutrals in general. So
fair enough.
Let's stop making them. We don't need more.
So yeah, you're right. You know, this could proceed, of course, like a Vale or an Aaron faction. But because obviously these are intrinsically linked to the Vale. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not that excited for this unit particularly, because I'm never excited for neutral units. Because either they come out and they're terrible, like GCS, or they come out and they're very strong, and it's like, oh god, these are going to be spammed. Like GCS right now. Like GCS went from unplayed to played everywhere overnight, just because of a balance change. And that's the problem with neutral infantry. And
yeah, like okay, maybe neutral hero boxes can be exciting. It's like there is some cool design space here, but like we've got so many neutral infra units, which it's hard to be excited just from seeing the box.
How many of them actually get picked? When was the last time you saw a bloody mama skirmisher unit?
Fuck, that's a trick question. Does Vargo count?
Exactly, it's a trick question. You've never seen a bloody mama skirmisher unit.
Yeah, even if he does, it was a long time ago. Maybe some skirmishers. No, there. Yeah.
And that's not because they're complete trash or anything. And by all means, people can use them, but like, they just don't. Yeah, they're just not. No.
Absolutely, it can be used, but it's just not a good idea. Maybe sources? No. How many bloody mama units there are?
There's only 2. And bloody mama skirmishers are one of them, and the fact that you even forgot they might have even existed tells you everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Let's bet. How many points do you think they would be?
I hope they're not 4. If they're 4, that's really not good. I hope that they're 5 or 6. I mean, they're probably going to come out at 5 points. They might be 4. You know what? They might be 4 because they might have fixed activation advantage. I don't think they have fully, and I don't think that would be a good thing for the game at all. But Yeah, let's hope that they're 5.
Yeah, they are not more than 6.
There's no way. Or they could be a berserker style unit that's like 6 or 7 points.
Maybe.
Maybe.
If I knew who they were, it would be easier to guess.
Next up, we've got the Stony Shore Pillagers back of box revealed, and we have this unit here. I'll read out the description in a minute. We know that the descriptions are very indicative of what abilities they have. They're totally never misconceptions, misbelievings based on the descriptions. The descriptions are always perfectly accurate, and all of that was irony. They never are. But we've got 13 minis, so we have an attachment. The Sunset Sea Brave. Interesting. And 12 Stony Shore Pillagers, the unit. New attachment. That's always cool.
Especially for Greyjoys. Like, they don't have many generic cat ones.
No. Another generic low defense Greyjoy infantry unit, says Achtal, probably.
That's what they needed.
So, let's read this. The Kraken banner means trouble anywhere it's seen along the Stony Shore. Yes. Largely thanks to the pillagers that swarm over villages and settlements along its length. Well, that is what Greyjoys are. These men move quickly, seizing everything not nailed down, and kill or rout anyone that gets in their way. So movement 6 then, right? Or does that mean movement 4?
Absolutely.
Moving quickly, movement 4. Right. Once they gain momentum, read pillage. Once they gain pillage, they're difficult to take down. But care must be taken to shield them from direct assaults, especially against heavily armed troops.
What? I'm confused.
Hang on, once they gain momentum, they're difficult to take down. But care must be taken to shield them from direct assaults, especially against heavily armed troops. What?
They are really difficult to take down unless you assault them directly.
They're hard to kill unless you try to kill them. That's what that says, in my opinion.
Maybe they have good defense against shooting.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe good. Ooh! Maybe they have... That would actually be interesting. +1 armor against shooting. Or +2...
-1 to hit against ranged.
Maybe -1 to hit against range. That would be interesting, actually. That could be some mechanic. That said, give them a flank to chew on, and the Stony Shore Pillagers won't stop until they've devoured the entire enemy line. That'll be ambush then. Yeah.
Yeah, of that.
Which is the... Yeah, we don't see ambush on any Greyjoy units, do we, I think?
No, only on Theon attachment, I think, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, Theon attachment has something similar, and I can't remember if it's...
No, I think one version of Theon has ambush.
Yeah, I think it might be as a 1 point attachment. No, it'd be
No! Commander!
Commander?
Did they add it to him?
Yeah, it's Commander. No, they gave him enhanced mobility, I think. Oh no, yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Well, he's got... Well, yeah, we do have some units with ambush. So like...
We do. But yeah. So maybe an ambush unit. Carly says, this description is waffle as fuck. Whoever wrote that description is a waste man. Yeah, I mean, the descriptions are always not the greatest thing in this game. I have no idea what this one. They gain momentum, they're difficult to take down.
Maybe once they are activated, they have some bonuses.
Maybe maybe they have to the last if they get 2 pillage tokens, or they have like -1 wound for every failed panic test if they have pillage tokens like Silence Men.
I want to see how they handle the new pillage after the last update. Like, will they fit into the new team of pillage? Because now pillage works quite differently on units, like Iron Makers or Rivers.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we'll see. I mean, obviously, I'm optimistic. There isn't really much you can say about this. The sculpts look okay. Like, they look fine. They look a little bit like D&D generic villager sculpts, but I'm sure they're great.
Yes.
Remember the old like villagers with pitchforks and torch models and stuff?
Yeah, I think they're more of bandits.
Yeah, bandits. Yeah, D&D bandits actually.
Yeah. You definitely need them for your D&D campaign.
Um,
And there is a tactical rock.
there is a tactical rock. There's always tactical rocks nowadays.
Really?
Yeah, there's tactical rocks on so many units now. It's unreal. On all the commanders and bannermen and things like that, there's tactical rocks now. They used to never do it. Now they do it all the time.
No, well,
That's
every great player that does ship bases is gonna love that.
Yeah.
I do like their overall theme. Like they fit with each other.
They do, and this is what you kind of probably expected a little more from like actual Greyjoys raiding. You know what I mean? Like actual raiders. I know they don't have Greyjoy raiders; they have Reavers and Reapers. And Reapers, although they're like one of the coolest models in the game, they're not the kind of thing you'd expect to see in like a unit. Like you don't have a unit of men with massive Bardiche type weapons. When you make sense. Whereas a bunch of these, I have a spear or an axe, and I think he's got a Kopesh, which is a bit weird. But like I've got a torch and a sword or something like that. Like, yeah, cool, that makes sense. That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, play Greyjoys. It's always good to have more units for factions that you play and or see, and
But like from the description, what's the difference between them and trappers? Those are the guys with the boat on the front art, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the guy like, randomly drowning someone else.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. No idea what the difference. I genuinely don't know what the.
Oh yeah. Trappers point two.
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, Trappers point two, or even just Reavers point two. You know, different
Maybe
flavor.
both.
Maybe both. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't quite feel the Greyjoys after the patch. Like I was really sad that they changed how they used to play, because I really liked that playstyle, and now it's gone, and now I just feel sad about it.
Mhm.
Because I do own Greyjoys, so and well, I think I still haven't gotten over it. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe they will help me with that.
Maybe. I hope. All right. Okay. We'll move on, shall we? And we will.
Oh wait, that's interesting comment from Carly.
Raise
Lizards.
shore on the east. Do about the Sunset Sea on the west. Yeah. Maybe they're pirates that have sailed the globe. There you go, Carly. These are worldly pirates. They've seen the world. They've gathered a crew of pillagers. Have pillaged all the shores. I have no idea. I'm just making this up.
Yeah. Thank you, Mickey, for that.
I know.
Let's go on. Let's move on.
Alex says, we just need some new shit already for Greyjoys. We're lacking releases. Yes. So what we're doing is releasing a melee infantry. Alex, how does a melee infantry unit sound for Greyjoys? I don't think Greyjoys have got enough melee infantry units. So what we need to do is release more melee infantry units for Greyjoys.
Well, it plays into their faction identity.
It does play into their faction identity, which is melee infantry unit. Yeah. What did I say the sickle type weapon was again, Mickey? I think it was a Kopesh. It's not a Kopesh, because Kopesh is something. Is it a Dothraki Arakar, whatever you pronounce it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It actually could be a Dothraki Akar. In which case, that's even weirder.
That I like. So like, will they be as bad as Dothrakis used to be?
I love that. No, not like.
No, they don't have Sundering.
They don't have Sundering.
No way, they will give them Sundering. Yeah.
Maybe they aren't about to give us cavalry, right? But it does say these men move quickly, right? Maybe they have a cav move infantry.
I remember the last time I saw that. It was on free for in 1.6. Yeah.
Yeah, 1.6 free folk. That wasn't broken or busted at all, was it?
You-
No.
You say so?
No.
I played like five games back then, so.
Swift Advance was a very fair card. If anyone remembers 1.6 Swift Advance was a very, very fair card that wasn't broken or busted at all. I
Imagine
don't know
having
what you mean.
imagine having built-in Val on any of your infantry units
Mate,
with Karma that gives you like what, D3 additional wounds on flank charge.
that card was so busted it was unreal.
There is no way it goes wrong.
Yeah, Starks had it, and they just goes, right, cool. I'll start off my turn. I'll move this unit of Umber Berserkers 6 inches, and then I will charge. I'm 6 movement, and I'll declare a charge against that unit 12 inches away, and then I'll play a card that means it's auto 6. I just charged you from 18 inches away automatically with an 8-point melee infantry unit that, because it's influenced by Cat, rolls 10 dice and does like a bunch of other extra hits and auto wounds. Oh, you're dead. Cool. Right, anyway.
I'm really glad Starks got what they deserved for after
I know.
those years of
I can't really
dominance.
complain. I used to do the same things with Free Folk. It was like, cool, you've run into melee and I'm still alive. This unit that's 18 inches away or something stupid, or like for Free Folk you couldn't do auto 6s, not easily. But like even so, this infantry that's like 12 inches away, yeah, now it's just charging you on an auto win in the flank. Like, because this is fair. Yeah.
Those must have been crazy times.
I know. Oh, trust me, they were. Maybe they may actually make Greyjoy the mobility faction like they keep claiming we are. No.
One interesting thing: the Kraken banner means trouble anywhere in seen along the stony shore, and they don't have a banner.
That's actually true. Yeah, that's actually very well pointed out. The Kraken banner means trouble anywhere, and they don't have a banner.
So they're bad, yeah, officially.
Yeah.
Don't pre-order them there. No need to.
Kraken banner means trouble.
You're welcome.
These guys don't have a Kraken banner, guys. Everything is fine. These guys, we can kill these guys easily. As long as we do a direct assault on them, we can kill them. It's fine.
Maybe they're a support unit, like
Maybe,
buff
yeah.
and chargers.
Well, someone was saying actually, and in chat, I think they were alluding to it, like pillage generation without necessarily having to kill ranks, which would actually be a good thing to do. Like it could even be something silly, like every time this unit performs a maneuver or march action, it gains a pillage token, which I would actually really like, because then it means like, and it kind of sees everything not nailed down, as in like, you know, they move forward and just naturally generate the pillage tokens that you could then disseminate among your team, and it means you don't have to just pick Euron every time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, now that you point that out, you know, I know it probably won't be this, but like they could gain pillage for I don't know, holding objectives.
That would be cool as well. Yeah.
Perform, and they have their own action. Right shit, they get pillage.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah.
Guys,
two wins,
pillage.
get a pillage. Yeah. Yeah, lose a rank to direct assault, they gain pillage tokens. Yeah, it could be.
Just better Euron.
Yeah. Better Euron. Rip Euron. It was great knowing you. Cool. Alright then. Last thing we're going to talk about, which is Poland, and there isn't much to talk about that's new with Poland, necessarily, other than the fact that I know that Carlo is now going to be attending. Carlo will be going to Poland, and I'm guessing he's going to hope to win Polish Nationals, which will be a big +1 for England after a double Polish win over here. It's 180 players. It's a lot of players, Sophie.
Quite a few.
A lot of players. It's triple the size of the event we've just had at the weekend. Triple. And it was 60 players. This is big.
And just pointed out, 1/3 of a 40k event at the LGT.
Yeah.
There were more than 500 players at 40k this year. But yeah, There's a lot of Polish players. Like there is quite an amount of foreigners, but there's still huge turnout from Poles.
100 to 120 Polish players, give or take. I don't think there are any more than 40 internationals. Then.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. High quality content. 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Oh, damn. 41, 42, 43, 44. 44 international players. So, yeah, 136 Polish players, 44 internationals, which is a good turnout for both, I think, there as well. I didn't count the number of different countries, but we've got Hungary, we've got the UK, Spain, Sweden, Finland, obviously Poland, Austria, Germany, and I think there's like Zimbabwe or whatever. Well, there's a random flag in there as well.
I think that's a Polish player,
It's a
just
Polish player, fair enough.
with other flag.
I think there's some. No, the Italians aren't coming down. There's no Italians. Greek, I forget to mention as well, and French. Philippe doing as well.
Yeah, you passed. You passed the one white flag. Yeah, and that's a Polish name and second name.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm obviously looking really forward to it. You're not playing in it.
No, unfortunately not.
Why is that?
I was asked by War Factory to help them with organizing it, so I will be a referee for that event. One of two, from what I know. Yeah, honestly, after those 10 games during this weekend, I was kind of like, damn, I want more, and now I won't be getting them from our nationals. Which for a moment I kind of regret it, but I still like the fact that I will be able to help them with organization here.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Not TOing technically, but judging, which is similar kind of thing. Obviously, without a lot of the pre-organizing stuff in there. I know that you did a lot of work with myself as well, but you did a lot of the work on kind of finishing off the community FAQ. Are you going to be predominantly following a lot of what was in there in the event from a judging perspective?
Sorry, once again.
That's all right.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So from the community FAQ, I know you kind of put a lot of work in with that. Are you using most of the rulings or ideas that you presented in that document in Poland?
Yeah. So basically, if that's up to me, then yes. But with there being two the referees, I would really love for us to be consistent with each other. So like there is some stuff right now that we just don't know the answer to it, and it's like is either one or the other, and it's like I can agree with both of them. Like there are arguments for both of them, and it's like I have my opinion, but if that means that we can get consistent rulings across the country, like I'm willing to give up my point. So yeah, probably we are working on a document with the other referee. I think he's working, and I will be just helping with when it's done to check it and maybe consult it. Yeah, and I would like for it to answer the most unclear questions right now. So like because there is some of them like stone thrower or what the hell is Ballon and Seal against Intrigue.
Okay, yeah. I can see why those questions come up a lot. Certainly the Balon one versus Intrigue, I think is an obvious answer myself.
I absolutely don't agree.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and it's like so I would. Well, the answers that I gave for community FAQ were like what I believe is right, but sometimes you cannot push your opinion through.
No.
So like, I'm really open to cooperation with them. So like, because that's the thing in a lot of communities here. The rulings from our nationals stand to wave. So like this year on team nationals, we had a ruling on sun diplomacy that basically we don't play it rules as written, but the rules as intended, or what we thought was in the intention. And it's quite big chance because every Martel game now has a bit different taste to it. Because Alaria cannot give out tokens if she's shut off by sun diplomacy, which I don't believe is right.
Yeah, which is really weird because apparently the designer's intent was for it to not shut off NCUs. So apparently the way it's intended to be played, as I've heard on the grapevine, is the way that most of us play it, which is Ilaria would be able to take her swords, remove a token, put out 2, and then get switched off, which is apparently the intent of the card, which just seems weird. But yeah.
If that's the truth, that's quite hilarious because, the years-old debate rules as intended versus rules as written.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, obvious intent, as we all can see.
Yeah. So yeah, it's something to consider anyway. But yeah, no. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I'm looking forward to not playing in the event, seeing the event kind of play out. There's no way I was going to be able to attend. Having already been to the US this year, and obviously LGT, my partner would definitely kill me if I said I was going to Poland. I'd already asked her if I could many months ago, and she said not like, well, when is it and things like that. She just said no. And I don't want to annoy her any more than I already do annoy her, which is quite a lot. So
yeah,
looking forward.
That's
to
a shame, but well.
It is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be some interesting stuff going on there. Like,
yeah,
especially with how Polish, I think it's considered to be quite strong.
Well, just by
meta.
sheer number of players, right? Like,
yeah.
If the more players you have, the more chance of people improving, and therefore the more chance that you got better players.
Yeah.
Good players mean better players, and better players improve the overall quality of players, and it pulls everyone up.
Yeah.
So, and Podwis is playing, who's a great player, which is obviously I know that Suavek is playing, who's obviously a very strong player that we've seen before. Bloodraven's there, who I think's dropped off a little bit in terms of he doesn't play as much as he used to, but Bloodraven was for a long period of time a very strong player. These are players I know. There are, of course, tons of other people going. I know I've seen I'm going to butcher his name completely here because he's been playing for a long time, and he was one of the key kind of online players back in the day during COVID, which is Sizemaj, but I have actually no idea how you pronounce his name properly.
Yeah, okay, I don't see which one you.
It will be. Let's see if I can find him on. Unless that is, so Sizmon Maj.
Shimon Macher. Yes.
Right. There you go. There you go.
Oh, did he play a game before the Tourney today?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about before the game. Before Tourney.
Okay, it's interesting. I haven't heard of him before.
Yeah, he used to be used to play a lot way back in the day. TTS kind of events. So I don't know how to Shimon? Shimman?
Yes.
Shimon?
Mon, like
yeah,
Shimon.
But then his MAJ?
Oh yeah. It depends if you want it to be like English or Polish, but it's Shimai.
Okay, Shimai. There you go.
In Polish.
So Shimai, and then obviously as Marky pointed out, Schuster as well, who is Powell, a very known name in the Brathians, definitely. Very strong Brathian player. And those are just the names that I'm picking out. Like, these are not completely random names. But there are lots of other players at the event, and these are just ones I happen to remember off the top of my head. I'm sure there are many other strong players attending as well. I'm looking forward to see what the overall kind of level of play is, and to see Lublak is another player I've seen many times before. Among obviously the internationals, likes of Pascal, Jacob, Mark, Carlo, all going over. Great. Yeah.
Pep.
Looking forward to it. I'm
Yep.
looking forward to see the results, and obviously I'm going to root for my boy Carlo. Hopefully that he wins.
No, please don't. You've got enough.
I know, right? I hope he does win, but like, it would be fantastic to see who does and to see the stats of the event, because this is by far the biggest event we've had ever. And it will be interesting to see how some players do. Of course, some players never seen them play in person, so WOP, a good player, I've never seen him actually play over the table, so see how he comes out. I guess the next real question I've got to ask you, actually, is are any of the games being streamed and or recorded?
I have no knowledge about that. I honestly, no, mostly what I've done with the guys, like we negotiated how I will help them, but they are, responsible for most details. So I assume most of my work will be on site, actually, walking, when the games are played. So I'm there to answer the questions, and possibly, to prepare FAQ before that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, and I unfortunately cannot answer this.
No, that's absolutely fine. If you don't know,
maybe there was something, but there were so many info with this. So.
It's absolutely fine. If you don't know, you don't know. It'd be great to see if they do post about it. Obviously, we've got the stats and everything. It'd be fantastic to see if they even recorded games or stream games. If there are streamed games, obviously I will be showing those around. Yeah.
I mean, it's also, while we're at that, it's one, as you said, it's biggest ASOIAF event so far. And eventually, if the events keep growing, we reach some kind of problem. It's like not with the events being that big, but like with the system we use. Because it's like regarding the 40k, we mentioned earlier. I was actually wrong. Marky corrected me. There were 750 players on LGT 40k, and they played standard Swiss, so like win-lose.
Yeah.
And after 5 rounds, because you cannot really play more rounds of 40k in 2 days, they were at least 23 undefeated players, I think. I mean, it's only pure math. I didn't see actually results, but like, and it's so, and from this point, you need 5 more games to have 1 undefeated player, and at this point, it becomes kind of hard. It's not really indicative of skill.
Yeah.
And it's not a problem with 180 players, but 750 players was was a lot.
It's too many. 180 needs 8 rounds technically, potentially, because 128 needs 7. So therefore, 180 might need 8, depending on how it all falls. But in theory, you could do 8 rounds in 8 rounds in a tournament weekend is possible, at least with Song. And then you could have up to 248 players. And if we're being very honest at this moment, I don't know if Poland would have got to 248. I think 200 they probably could have got, but I don't know if they'd ever hit 248. They've got maybe a waiting list of about 20 players now, and that's assuming that all of the 20 players on the waiting list wanted to attend.
I'll just point out, because I know that for a fact that there are players on waitlist that cannot participate. So like, because you just by default you sign up to the waitlist, and if you pay, you are moved to the actual rating. But before when they gave us the link to register, there was some time before we could actually pay. So like, obviously some players had to drop out. So like, that's for sure less than that players. Right.
It's definitely. I mean, they're saying there about like it's all about margin of victory and stuff like that, which is important, I think, in tournament games. But the problem is you want an undefeated winner if you can, and other things, because that's the nature of all kind of styles of tournament. However, if you're going to play for crushings and things like that, I think that's a very different style. And actually, what's interesting is like the way you play the game differs if you're looking for crushings or if you're just looking for wins. I played the same lists I played in the US, which is really interesting now I think about it. I played the same lists I played in the US at the LGT, but I played the games differently. In the US, I was playing to not lose. In the LGT, I was playing to win as big as I could. And that is a very different thing. You know, someone pointed out, actually, you see, in the US scores, I killed 37 points worth of units, and across all my games, I scored 37 victory points. I scored the same number of points as points I killed. In the UK, in the LGT, that's nowhere near the same. I killed like over 100 units and obviously didn't score 100 victory points in 7 rounds. So, like, yeah. Sorry, I said 2548, not 256. Yeah, I just got the maths wrong. I said 124 twice for some reason, not 128 twice. My fault, Ross. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like eventually, well, like with that, if someone wanted to host a 300 players event for Song, it's like the problem with how the game is played.
Yeah.
Like, because with base rules you cannot really do other system, because like the difference between crashing victory and major victory here are can be really small.
Yeah.
Because you can just table someone, and then it's like it's hard to do something else than win-loss when 40k can be adjusted to that.
Yeah, well, the margin of victory in points where you score is very.
Yeah, like in Poland we used to play, you don't play win-loss, you just get, both players get total of 20 points from game, and the more you score, the more you get from this.
Yeah.
Which kind of would fix that problem, which is like, then it's really funny to see that big event with win-loss. But I guess it's England thing.
It's interesting though. I mean, certainly it's true to say that in the LGT though, if we consider it, there were very few people who had similar kind of secondaries even towards the end. There were few people on very similar, but like even if you look compared, like specifically actually me and you, who didn't win the event, but our secondaries are not like the 19 and things like that other people have got. We're sat on like 23s, and there's a couple of people at 20 as well, compared to Carlos 25. Obviously, no losses. But then there are a few people at 19, a couple at 20, 18, 17. Then you start to get similar kind of thing, kind of starting to crop up. But yeah, I think our system's fine for the moment. But I do agree, if you move towards nearly 300 players, then there might be issues.
Yeah, I mean, like, bringing that up because I was thinking like, what could have been done different if you wanted to fix this? But like, without you can assuming you can't play more games, then it's
Yeah.
like,
It
either on
requires
TTS after the event.
Yeah. No. It requires changing the way you score the game.
Yeah, so like the whole game would need to be changed.
Yeah. The way that VPs. But yeah, I don't know. All right then. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Sophie, and talking to me about your experiences, how you felt, and all that kind of stuff. It's great chatting with you. Great to meet you, obviously, in London as well, face to face, and play 2 games against you, which very lucky for me, I think, to play against a good player twice. Which I think that's a positive thing, right? It's always a good thing to play against strong players.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the games against both you and Carlo on the main event.
Appreciate that. So yeah, anything you want to add before we start to wrap up?
I see the Joker asked about the terrain settings, and like I didn't do anything. I was just like I just I have my own opinion on player setup, on the terrain setup, but like I'm not gonna try to convince them.
They went for random, right?
Yes, and I'm not a big fan of that, but it's kind of how it's always been played, and I think it's we would need more community change to more of the community like to change that to agree to for it to actually happen.
Yeah.
Because we tried to talk about it with them in the past, but it's just they had their own the reason for that. You can kind of see this, like And I don't think. No, yeah, it kind of impacts the game. So
It definitely does. And it changes the way you build lists and think about the games anyway. Certainly.
yeah, but like if the people don't want it to happen, then you know.
Yeah. Gotta do what people want.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Democracy.
Democracy is great, isn't it? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Right then. So, we'll go through upcoming stuff. So we've got Song of Ice and Fire at Battle Zone Ursa in Anchorage, Alaska, in the US. Cool. This weekend we've also got an event in Louisville, Kentucky. An event in Krakow in Poland. Are you attending any events this weekend by any chance?
Yes. This weekend. Yeah, I'm.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure on Saturdays there is my event, but no. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, the Bolter one.
Bolter. Yeah. So
Oh.
I will be attending this.
Wow. I'll watch out for your results.
Thank you very much. But that's one nice thing. I spent the last month practicing for LGT, so now I can just chill because that was my big tournament for this year.
So you're playing
So
neutrals
I can.
then, right?
I have no recognition of that faction.
It's the right answer. We've got an event in Helsinki, in Finland. You win or you die. Love it. The GT Andalusia this weekend in Spain. An interesting one to watch out. 64 player event. Lists are already locked. 37 players attending. Ooh,
That's a lot.
watch the up for this one.
Is Mikkel there?
Is Mikkel there? Tasia is. Diego is. Markabel is. Marco's part of Mikkel's group. No, Mikkel is not attending. He's on the waiting list. So he may actually be attending.
But the lists are revealed though, so.
Yeah, he might not be attending actually. Because I know he's had some issues with work. He's been very. But yeah, there's certainly like a lot of the decent Spanish players are gonna. I don't see a Fuente on there who's strong, kind of like he's the guy who often wins the nationals and stuff down there. I don't see him on the list, but nearly all the other ones are on. I'd expect to see, which is good to see. So if you're going to watch out for an event this weekend, obviously watch out for the Andalusian GT happening in Spain. We've got a negative Castriello event, or a negative event, I'm guessing, up in Sweden. Great picture. I don't need to go any further than that. That picture's enough. Done. Amazing. Bolter event, obviously I'll watch that. Watch out for your results there, Sophie. An event happening in Gdansk, event in Poznan, an event in Perestri in Greece. Ooh, another Greek event. Love that. And one in Germany, Mexico City. What else have we got? Kecie in Poland.
Sorry.
Kecie.
Yeah, it's like the E is like
right.
Polish
I'm slowly learning Polish.
How many tournaments we do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very slowly. Not that quick. Santander, an event in Magdeburg, Germany. There's tons this weekend. Madrid, Spain, another smaller event there. Event in Jacksonville, Florida. Bedburg in Germany. That's next weekend. Cool. Right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 events this week.
Did we win?
I think you probably won. I mean, you always win, right? What, 1?
I think
2, 3, 4.
Maybe
5. 5. Yeah. Which is more than all the others. But yeah.
I will not count the others, so I think that's automatic win.
Hey, the US put in like at least I think the US put like 3 up or 3 or 4 up, so well done for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, we can see the Poles prepping up for nationals.
Yeah, definitely. 2 weeks time.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
100%. All right then, guys. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll probably have Isaac on next week because me and Isaac will probably want to look through the Polish entries, talk a little bit about Polish lists, also talk about the Invitational, his experiences there, talk about the game as a whole. It's great to see, and we won't talk about the meta too much, but it's great to see that on the most part, faction rankings have been changing kind of relatively a lot. Boltons are now solidly at the bottom with -50. Night's Watch solidly at the top at 40. But the rest of the rankings, Stark all the way to Baratheon, separated by basically 30 ELO. It's technically 31 at the moment or something.
I'm really surprised to see Baratheons here.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I didn't play against them much, but I didn't think they have a lot going for them.
They've had a nice little uptick over the weekend, I think. But it's what's actually interesting is that the 2 through to 9 does change around a fair large amount. It's 30 ELO, which is very little. And what's actually super interesting is it's Night's Watch at 40 or whatever. It's about 30 points down to Baratheon. And Stark to Bolton is about 30 points again. So you've got Night's Watch at the top, Bolton's at the bottom, and everything else in the middle.
Boltons are new neutrals.
Bolton's the new neutrals.
That's it.
Are there any UK events, Carly? Yeah, the next big UK event is going to be either Rimble Rumble, but I think before then we've got the team tournament being run by Dead Meta Gaming in Darlington here. So that's in November. We'll probably talk a little bit about that next week.
You guys don't do just like the once per month tournament?
Not really. Some do, but we don't do any big events once.
Oh, it's
We have
20
GT.
people or so.
Yeah. The GTs and club tournaments like Chelmsford and stuff might get like 10 to 20 players.
Interesting. Weird to see how it's like, because I think it's common in Poland, for us to have a shop that does for us one event per month, and then it's really easy to do one per month.
We don't have that many once per month shop type events. Definitely not.
Interesting. Yeah, because like for me, I do our tournaments in Bolter, and it's like if not for me, there would be someone else, because that's the shop that wants us to do the events. So like I don't have to do almost anything. Just give them the link. Yeah. Show us the commanders.
Commanders. Oh god, it's
that is Malister. Oh my god. What's he doing here?
I have no idea. But it's Night's Watch, because Night's Watch are the highest rated faction. But then you get through that, and then it's a mix. You've got Eldon up there, Gregor and Kevin are still up there, Theon up there for Greyjoy, Oberyn. It's a healthy mix, like generally off the back of that. I still think, it's mental to me, right, that Steer is down at, he's better than he was, but -4, down at 70th place.
It's just
crazy.
I said to you already, but it's really hard to play the Steer. It's honestly, our game was the first time I saw it be played like that, and I know I wouldn't pull this off. And I would definitely not come up with the way to play it like that by myself. Now I'm kind of inspired to give it a try.
Dude, it's fun. I love it. It was great. I don't understand why people think it's hard. It's great fun. It's easy. Trust me.
Yeah, Steer players population will double then.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not now. It was really interesting.
I love it. I absolutely love it. The best. It's the best.
Yeah.
It is the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just love free fire.
Mickey, go home.
Go home. Go home. Already am home. No. Yeah. Let's just cut to the chaff, and we won't look at the very bottom, because the very, very bottom is of course 3. Oh my god. Roos at -80. Holy balls. That's bad. That is really bad. How are Boltons at -51 and all of their commanders even worse?
Oh, that's great.
Oh god, I actually wonder if Carlos factored in neutrals accidentally there or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
it's pretty funny. Maybe they are secretly really good, but it's just Carlos' fault.
No, that's terrible. Roos and Ramsey at -71 and -81 respectively. This means that Boltons as a whole are going to fall further. -50 is nowhere near going to be where their final ranking is. Their final ranking is going to be much further down, like -60, -70, -80.
Which one of them is most played?
It's got to be Roos, right?
Oh, so the more you play them,
100%
the,
Rus.
the worse they get.
So this only shows you the August stats, but Shields apparently Steelshanks had 4 games in August because we haven't got the September stats. Ramsey had 3 games in August. Had 9. I don't believe that. I believe that there are a lot more games than that, but Rus is by far the most played. And I can tell you in September there's a lot more games.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see that more than 9.
So
Don't those update automatically? Why?
no, Carlo has to. It automatically does them, but he still has to run a script. So he has to press a button basically.
Okay.
There's a lot of red there. There's a few greens there, I guess, but there's a lot of red. Ramsey. Oh god. Oh god. Oh no. At least this is like I'm bad. This is shit.
So if we remove Ramsey, they will be good.
1, 14 wins in the last 50. Like a third. It's like a 33% win rate. Oh god. That's so bad.
Yeah, well,
just in the
better
last
than
50.
0.
Better
Like
than 0, yeah.
2 months ago.
And at least this is a little bit more healthy. He's not dropping.
Yeah, but there is that. When I look at the Bolton commanders, I just don't feel excited. There is you look at their cards, like, oh, cool.
Steelshank's got the coolest cards by far. Bruce's cards are really not that interesting as a commander.
Yeah,
Ramsey's cards are especially not that interesting.
yeah. It kind of feels like the Martels on the release, like without the hero box, because
Yes.
like Oberon and Doran felt the same way.
Yeah.
So you would more likely play. You would want to play neutral commanders instead.
100%.
It's kind of sad, especially that they have really cool hero box design. And it's one thing that Simon has going for them is like at least some attachments are starting to look good.
Some.
Be considered. Some of them, mainly the 1.1s.
In competitive factions.
Yeah. But like, hey, maybe they will see, the connection.
Glory Seekers, Winterfell Guardians, Tyrion Lannister, Asher, Drown Prophet is okay, and then you just start moving into mediocrity. Of
Why is Drought Prophet so high?
Because people
That's...
try and kill things in LA against Greyjoy infantry.
Ah, yeah, right. That's why you pick Gregor.
Actually, to be fair, Gregor might not be able to do it as well because if they just survive the first hit, they can probably heal up enough. I don't know, maybe not. I think Greyjoys.
That's why you hit them twice.
Yeah, exactly. I think Greyjoys win every melee infantry like sustain battle eventually. The question is if you can kill them in 2 attacks with Gregor and get through, then they don't win that, obviously. Who's the worst attachment in the game? I just want to know who the worst attachment in the game. Sour Allen and Bastard Boys. Okay, that doesn't count. Unsullied Officers. Guard Captains. I don't know. I've seen a Guard Captain run. I've seen Unsullied Officers.
Which one is that?
Lannister Guard Captains now have Hold the Line.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Cool.
Rickon and Osher have got a terrible win rate. Probably because they appear in every Stark list.
Oh, yeah.
And they lose. Because Starks lose all the time.
And how good is Shaggy Dog?
Question. Commanders. No, too far. Dark. Shaggy Dog is 24.
That's interesting.
Not winning games like he used to. Interestingly, to see the Stark Bowman buff has really carried them up to the heady heights of minus 56. Remember, this unit got buffed.
Yeah. How? Oh, yeah, +1 morale.
Yeah. No, it had the panic choke and roll a 1 in defense saves to get weakened now. Not if you fail your morale test, you can't use orders and get weakened.
Yeah, so that's a worse effect, but easier to get.
and they're just worse. Like, I mean, they're not worse, but they're not doing well. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes I do wonder. Tully Cavalier is obviously very strong. Trackers. Grey Wind's up there because Rob's pretty good.
It's really interesting because I wouldn't call Starks bad now.
I would.
And maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not going to read into it anymore. Right. I'm calling it there. We're done. Thank you very much again, Sophie, for joining me. I really enjoyed today's episode. I really enjoyed the weekend, of course. Is there any last things you want to say to all your adoring fans out there?
Carol cheated. I don't know how. I will find it. No, but honestly, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here. And once again, it was a pleasure to meet you guys and play in real life. And I'm still hoping on our Steyer versus Gregor rematch.
Oh, at some point, yeah, we've got to do that on T.
Yeah.
I will probably lose. I have a feeling. That one. Beast of Crows, yeah.
Absolutely. I will get you, old man.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much for joining us, guys. Thank you very much again to Sophie for joining us. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy your tournaments if you're at one. And I will catch you again later.
Bye.
Ready? Aim! There's too many!
Anyone see my mammoth?
Stubby!